How do? How do? Welcome to Workshop Wednesday. I'm JR, just in case you didn't know. Who we got in? You and Carr, Unji, hello all. Thank you very much to RamFox89 for the follow. Evening Nighthawk. It's not even for you, it's even for me. Silly UK time, eh? How's it doing? This beautiful little thing here. I say little, it's relatively large, but it's getting closer. It's getting closer. I was indeed, it was a birthplace time. We invented most things, including all the best sport. So none of this football rubbish. Cricket is the only way to go. CARRACK's looking nice. I was amused by... thank you for all the people who retweeted and liked our tweets today, showing off this drinking as a sport indeed, Unji. It definitely, absolutely, for sure. We sent out a tweet of the CARRACK, and my favourite response was this gem. That's which was so we have an actual tangible model of a CARRACK that can deploy its sensor antennas before the shipping came. Damn CIG, that's kind of sad. I was amused by that. I mean, it's not really fair on CIG. They could unfurl the antennas, they just wouldn't really do anything, would they? Because we haven't got that sort of advanced scanning mechanic. I suppose it would just like turn off the CARRACK sensors when you didn't have them up or something. But no, I am actually looking forward to seeing the kind of long range, the sort of long range scanning gameplay of ships like the Terrapin and the CARRACK when it comes down to that kind of mechanic to actually unfurl these things. I think it was one thing that you had to have them up when you're sort of like plotting jump points and things. Yeah, the MSR can raise and lower dish. Yeah, so I mean, so interesting. The MSR and the Starlifter have both got a lot more controllable stuff, haven't they? Because they've got individual switches on the consoles and all that kind of stuff. Effectively, they've come out with the sort of gold standard of full interactability. So they will go back down the line and do all this, for things like the CARRACK, and we're talking like last week about the Arrow, the fact that you can't fold its wings up and its landing gear as independent functions. There's no reason why you can't put the landing gear down without folding its wings up. This kind of stuff. It's just we're just waiting for more buttons. We're waiting for more buttons in these other ships, so that we get to play with all these buttons and levers and dials and dashboards and all this kind of stuff. So, but no, I thought it might be quite nice to sort of stick the antennas in. So without further ado, this won't be a long update really. I just wanted to go through where we are. Hello Patch, hello from Germany. Hello from Scotland to Germany. I miss Germany so much. Not been since we did our last event over there. And yeah, I miss it dearly. I really want to go to Gamescom next year. Really want to go to Gamescom next year. So a little bit of a sort of like check over of where we are with the CARRACK. Not all these bits are final pieces. I will say that we've got some that are sort of temporary pieces, some bits that I'm not 100% happy with. So we'll kind of go. I'll sort of show you the process of things that I'm not happy with. So initially, what's changed? Well, the big things that have changed are last time we saw them, these side wings were very, very plain. They didn't have any of their detailing on. That has now changed. They now have all their panel lines on, like the rest of the ship. They have. Let's see what the focal length of this camera is. It's got little, you sort of see the little circles there. So it's got all of its lines on the back and everything. So these are now what we would bring to our sort of gold standard of pieces. These come off quite nicely. I've not glued any of this together yet. just because I still want to be able to take this apart because, oh no, maybe I did glue him in. Basically, what I want to do at this stage is be able to go, right, okay, this bit isn't absolutely perfect. I want to kind of test fit it a few times. So I did have to sand that pin down by about 0.5 mil. So I need to get this, take my pen and just colour it in with a Sharpie so that I know that I had to do something to it, so that when I come to look over these parts for the next print, I know, right, I need to take 0.5 mil off that in the model because that's what it needs. We'll just pull these out. These are actually the very initial test print of these. I haven't actually played with these since. These haven't actually got any better since we last saw them. They're next on my list. Again, that isn't glued in. So these fit quite nicely on the side. I'll just grab one of these. So they were both the. I've not sanded this, obviously. Literally just pulled it off there. But just check that goes in yet. So that's quite nice. So that's its flight wing. We should have an aerial. So let's get rid of this guff. We should have an aerial somewhere. We do. A lot of this stuff literally came off the printer. Oh, I like spaceships. How do spaceship? Hello, board. How are you? Yeah, we're just looking into the latest on this bad boy. So that's fitting quite nicely. I quite like that. Yeah, it's good. We're just we're in the sort of final stages of this model now. So we've sort of got all the detailing. I'll set the Pisces out so I don't just drop it. We've kind of got all the detailing on her chassis now. We've also got these sort of interchangeable wings and things sorted. We have the ones with the landing gears sorted. So yeah, we're sort of at the point now where the fuselage is done, all but a few little fixes, which was kind of going to go over in the stream. Just move my microphone a little bit so I'm not turning to the side too much. So that's quite nice. So I did clean up a few other pieces here. So this is a good example of what we've been up to in the last sort of week or so. So that was the hangar door that we last saw, and this is the new version. So this has now got all of its panel lining on, all of its sort of exaggerated details. You can just, I don't know if you want to see on the camera, you could just see where the break in the doors, because this door actually splits in game. So we have exaggerated the split, put all its magnets holes at the bottom. Now this hasn't been thrown in yet, so we shall see how she fits. Oh, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. I'll put it in wonky. And now, what we've done, this is an issue. Getting it back out is is a real pain in the ass. So what we've done is we've put a third magnet in the middle there. So underneath here, there are 2 magnet holes. So you put 2 magnets in that and 2 magnets in that. So that holds it in, and that actually sits with about a millimeter gap between them, so that the bottom of these don't scratch the paint in the bottom of the hanger. So we quite like that feature. I should just put it in straight this time. So the magnet, there we go. So the magnets will pull it in. But then how do you get it out without, shaking the damn thing? So I'm going to have to do that because I've got no magnets in. But that third magnet that sits in the middle means that we're going to make this sort of 3D printed tool with a little soft, furry end on it. So you just sort of put it there and lift it off via its third magnet. We are going to have to bang it off. So that middle magnet is there to remove it safely without damaging the paintwork. So that's quite nice. That fits quite nicely. I do have a turret in the top there. I think I glued that in. I need to change the pin. So the pin was too fat to be able to push it down. So I wanted to glue it in because I wanted to see how it looked on the ship. So I do need to redo the pin. Thank you very much for the follow, Vandalg. I am awful with names. I will apologise for that. So this, what else we got? Oh well, we fixed this problem that we had. So our old landing gear foot, Fat32. Thank you for the follow. So this is the old landing gear with no detailing on. It was also kind of too big to fit in. So new version, a little bit of panel lining. There wasn't a huge amount to do on this, and it's now fitting in. So we want this to be a really nice loose fit, because this is held on like a lot of our landing gears with magnets. So it's got a magnet on the front, magnet on the back, holes in here for the magnet. So, and once that's painted, we just want that just to pull out. Can't wait for this one. Thank you, Max Rosen. Neither can I. This has been a long project, the CARRACK. There's so many bits to it, and we knew that we had to do this one absolutely spot on. There was a lot of technical issues with this one that we hadn't tackled before, so this was always going to be a bit of a long slog. Have you announced a price? No, we haven't announced a price yet. We don't until we've got the full model done, and it's especially things like the nose. So we'll come on to the bridge canopy. Things like that are going to affect the price when we get our final production cost a few pounds each way. The thought is it's going to be somewhere between the price of the Freelancer Max, £125, and the Cyclones, which is £140. It's going to sit in that sort of category. It's not going to be more expensive than the Cyclones. See no reason for that. The Cyclones are so expensive because they are actually a really big model and come in so many parts, and it's like 6 characters in them, and loads of stuff in those kits. There's obviously no people in a 1 to 500. There is Pisces and Rover and that kind of thing, but they are actually quite small, obviously. The Pisces, they're small little pieces, so they don't add a huge amount to the kit, whereas all the character work and all the character art stuff we did last time, it did add a lot to those kits. So I imagine it's going to be about the same sort of price as the Cyclones were. So it is the biggest model we've ever done. It's just over 10 inches, but it's quite slim. Unlike the Max, it's nearly as wide as it is long, sort of deal. So that's quite nice there. I do have some, right, here we go. I'm not even taking off its scaffold, so we'll just quickly do that. So this is its closed landing gear. I'm just going to have to give that a very quick sand, just to sand its touch points off. Excuse the free sanding sound you got there. Now this will be fun. If this is a tight fit, we'll never get it back out ever again. Oh no, that's perfect. So looks like I need to give it another little. I do need to give it a little sand on the top. Not quite sitting in flat. Boop. There we go. So again, we've put the panel lining on, so you can sort of see the 4-way split. Now it comes out nicely, and it's nice and interchangeable. Go back in. There we go. So it's nice and interchangeable on magnet, so that's all cool. This front bit, I've not redone the door open. This was our last copy of the door, the ramp open. So it will sit in there and have its rams. I broke the rams off to stress test them and determined they were not quite strong enough. I do have a new door somewhere here. So again, old door, new door. So a lot more detailing on that. Again, that's going to be on magnet and have the same trick of removal, so you're not having to use your fingernails. These 2 little green dots are basically 2 bits of detailing that I've missed, and again, I just draw on these models so that otherwise I'll never remember all the bits I want to change in it. The nose, we've reprinted in, it's a bit tight, it needs a bit of sand, reprinted in a solid resin. Wow, I really did ram it in there, didn't I? There we go. So it obviously needs a bit of a sand. So I've reprinted this in a solid resin. For all those of you who are wondering, haven't seen the program we did about this, this is going to be not printed. The goal is actually to print a very, very delicate internal bridge, because it obviously has a middle deck and seats and all this kind of stuff in it. So we're going to print that in a dark resin along with this back collar bit. So basically this bit that I've coloured in Sharpie at the bottom, ignored the struts, but this bottom bit here, that's then going to be put in a mould created from this master, and then we'll pour a clear resin into this. So this canopy will, fingers crossed, be cast in a clear resin and actually have bridge pieces deck and stuff cast inside it to give that sort of full perfect effect. So that's quite cool. There's a small print error here. You see there's a sort of a tear here. So we're going to look into that in a wee while. I'll stick that nose back in for the time being. So that's cool. What else do we know? Oh, the underneath of this. So in the last version of this, it was solid. What was the version between that? Too many versions. In the version between that, it was solid. And one of the other cool tricks that this thing has is all its windows are actually cutouts, and there's going to be clear pieces that sit in behind them, including all of these, so that this ship can be lit from the inside. But we did come across the issue of, well, how the hell do we get batteries in it? I mean, we clarify we're not supplying the lighting kit for this, but we want people to be able to light it. People have already lit our models before, even with us not really giving them any help towards it. And obviously this is a pretty hollow ship, so there's a lot of room and stuff for it. So we thought, right, okay, how do we deal with this? So what we've done is we've cut out the whole of the bottom of this section here. Now this is where the cargo pods magnetize in, because they're all interchangeable. So what we've done is we've made a floor. Now this currently is just our first test print, and this is just an entirely plain piece, just as an initial test fit, which I shall now attempt to do. I really need to clean those little nodules off first. 1 moment. I was going to sand it there and mute it, but I shall just use a Stanley or a scalpel, just because it'll be a bit quicker. So yeah, we wanted a way, for people to be able to get LEDs and mess about with it. It seemed a good, nice big hole to make in the model that will then get covered up by the cargo pods. So seemed a good. Okay. So let's see if I can do this on the other side of the camera. Yeah, so that fits in nicely. So that's now sitting in there. I should have a cargo pod somewhere. I do. So here's our cargo pod. Comes in 3 pieces, 2 ends and a center section. This hasn't been detailed yet. It's one of the initial prints. But you can see you can put the magnets in there, so they can all magnetize on, and these will sit in there. And there'll be 3 of them. So they'll sit all the way down this cargo area. Now you can see in here we do have the doors and everything at both ends of the cargo bay area. So when there's no cargo pods in it, the model still works, which is nice. So we'll have to put detailing on this panel, which is quite interesting because this panel doesn't exist in game. Well, it does exist in game, sort of, but it is completely smooth in game as well. It's so much detail. We're trying. And this has been the challenge with the CARRACK, is it has so many weirdnesses. Obviously, because we've got the whole garage is modelled in here. It's going to be a bugger to paint. Sorry, I don't know another way around it. So there's the whole. You can sort of see all the struts inside. There's the whole garage modelled. There's the cargo bits, and then there's the flight deck and everything in there as well. Haven't done the engines yet. Engines are still to come, but the back of it's looking nice. The underside looking very nice. I'm liking all the detailing. The detailing's come out really nicely. And yeah, it's where are we? Yeah, realistically, it kind of looks finished, but we need to readdress the scanners, the aerials. So they need a second pass. I say these are our original old prints, and these are far too fragile. And this looks a bit basic. When these sort of sit in here, I want these to look prettier. These are on magnets as well. pretty much everything on this model's are magnets. I think there's going to be more magnets than in the Arrow. I think it's going to be about 60 magnets for this. Everything's interchangeable on the CARRACK. Because we desperately want to have a model that people can display in flight state, lander state. There'll be different turrets facing in different directions. There'll be, the garage door, the hangar door. More magnets, exactly true. Thank you, Fat32. We try our best to make a model as well as we can make one. That's always our goal. The standard we set ourselves is ourselves. We will never put a model out that we know we could have done better with. There's areas that we want to be better at, especially things like the clear cast screens and all this sort of stuff. We still struggle with that. We are doing them as well as we can do them, and it's that whole thing of when you know there's something wrong or that something could be better, you just have to keep working at it and get better at it, and that's what we're trying to do. Same with larger models. This is about as big a model as we can feasibly do, actually 3D printed, so each person gets an individual 3D print. Much bigger fuselages than this, and we need to be able to cast them out of casting resin. We need to be able to take a mold of these and cast them, because this fuselage itself is a 40-hour print. So we can save time by going, right, okay, it's front and a back section. We get 3 fronts on a print, we get 3 backs on a print, sort of 2 separate prints. So we do save a bit of time doing that, but still, it is a hugely long print to print these things. So any bigger than this, when you talk about reclaimers and Idrises and 890s and stuff, it just physically doesn't fit in the printers. And even if we did spend the sort of 8-10 grand to get a bigger printer, it would cost so much to print each individual kit on those printers that these kits will be 200-300 quid. So the answer to that is we need to get better at casting. So that's, we are trying to learn as much as we can. This clear canopy on this will be really fun because it's the first time we've done a solid block. A solid block cast, which I think will be easier, a lot easier to do than the very thin canopies and screens and stuff. So that's cool. So I am really happy with where we are with this. We're not far off. So I was listening to things which still have to get finished. Aerials retracted, so basically covers that fit over these 4 aerial points. Happy with the hangar cover. The really nice thing about the CARRACK is that when the hangars open, that's all you see. They do retract completely into the ship. So that is the hangar sorted. Really, I don't know why I keep putting it in at a slightly cocked angle. I'm gonna have to check that it wants to sit. Must be a touch point I haven't quite got out. So I like the way it sits. We're always trying to get a slightly loose fit with stuff, because we do have to remember that it's going to be a coat of primer, at least 1 coat of primer, and then 1 or 2 coats of top coat on both the things that are coming together. So we do like to try and keep our fit loose enough to allow for 3 or 4 layers of paint. Turrets are good. I like the side turrets. There's a couple of changes I want to make. These features here, I've exaggerated too much. They're quite subtle on the actual ship. These are way too obvious on there, so they need subtling. And then the thing we're going to look at now is, so there's a tear, as I say, just there. So that suggests to me that there is a cavity in the model. So let's have a look and see if we can find said cavity. So let me just move my legs around my chair and move my mic. Right, okay, so, oh yes, Ewan Carr, Discord, yes, please do, everyone, join our Discord. If you're interested in what we do, and you'd like to be part of our Discord server, it's very much a Makers Discord. There's a Makers channel in it. Thank you, Steve106, thank you for the follow. We have very much a Makers Discord. Come in and tell us about your 3D printing. Tell us about your 3D printed Star Citizenships. We will help you with them, believe it or not. It's one of those things, like, we're never going to give STL files out or anything like that. You know, of course we're not. But we're not anti people doing their own Star Citizenships. Far from it. You know, we started doing this as a hobby. So, you know, who are we to, you know, tell you not to do it just because we think, well, no, you should be buying ours. It's like, well, that's bullshit, because, you know, you're a hobbyist. Make things, it's what we do. We can't criticize other people for making things. And secondly, you're probably going to be doing a different ship than us anyway, because, you know, there's 100 and there's 100 and odd ships in this game, and we might get to all of them. We might have a fair chance of getting to all of them with the 1 to 500s. I will say that. I actually got a little picture of the 1 to 500s for anyone who hasn't seen it. Where were we? I posted them in here, didn't I? So these are all the completed 1 to 500 little ships that are going alongside the CARRACK. Not in the CARRACK box; they'll be sold separately, but sort of give you a bit of an idea of size here. That's the CARRACK, and that's the Cutlass next to it. Obviously all to scale. But yeah, it's amazing how massive the CARRACK is. It's such a huge 125 meters or what have you. So they're all the 1 to 500s all in landed mode. They've all got landing gear. Will the Pisces be included with the CARRACK? Yes. So in the CARRACK kit, you will get basically a sprue with a land. I'm looking around for one, but I don't think there's one down here. Basically, a sprue with an in-flight and a landed Pisces. So the one in this picture is the landed version, and you will get both the landed and the flight in the CARRACK. In the Pisces 1 to 500 diorama kit, you actually get 3 in-flight and 1 landed. So that's cool. Basically, when they're at 1 to 500 small ships, they're way too small to have, you know, changeable landing gears or anything like that. So, and they're really, really small. So the kit just comes with some in flight, some landed. So that's the same with the Arrow. See the Arrow in that photo? That's obviously in landed mode with its little landing gear. There's 3 in flight, 1 landed in its diorama kit. All the bigger ones behind, the Lancers and the Cutlasses, they actually come with both landing, both sets of landing gears, so that you can do the landing gear, glue it together, either landed or retracted. So you have the option with those. Yes, and it will also come with an Ursa. So the CARRACK is going to come with a couple of Ursas. I'll probably throw 2 in. They are super tiny. They are so small, because they're 1 to 500 Ursas. So small that I'm not going to bother doing a separate purchasable diorama kit in 1 to 500 with an Ursa Rover in it. I think it's one of those things that we're really just doing the ship models as the 1 to 500 separate purchasable products. So the Ursa will only come with the CARRACK, basically. But I say it's so small. I can't wait to see Nighthawk paint it. I'm sure it'll be amazing. Yes, it is about the size of Drew's pinky now. He printed one on printers at his end. It's just so small. So small. Now, obviously, the in-flight... yeah, excellent. These ships also have acrylic stands and up stands, so you can display them in flight mode, or landed mode, to be honest, on stands. Yeah. Do you only make intact ships or crashed remains? Well, I suppose if you dropped it. No. Currently, we haven't done any... yeah, I was gonna say Nighthawk. I was gonna say, can we show off some of your in production photos, Nighthawk? Let me find a good one. So Nighthawk is currently doing a diorama of an Arrow with a really cool bit of damage on it. So he's I love the wire and stuff on this coming out the back where the wing, tail wing should be. So he's doing a damaged version of it. I would like to do at some point the actual proper damage model under frame for like the wings or something. So like for the arrow, for example, we could do the arrow wing, because obviously the interchange on magnets, we could actually do a damage one where you can see the substructure. What I will probably do, I think it's a 1:100 thing. I think it would look absolutely awesome. What I'd like to do is basically do a ship damaged parts diorama kit when we've got a few more 1:100 fighters. Say we'd like the Buck of the Gladius, or so like we've got a couple more out, and the actual damage model is completed, so we know exactly what it's going to look like. So then what we'll do is basically do a oh yeah, he did send a picture at the top as well with its bullet holes and stuff on it. So yeah, so we could do like a diorama pack with basically some damaged wings off all of our 1:100 ships and some damaged parts as a little collection. But I think at the moment, because there's only just the arrow, we're not 100% sure, you know, what the damage model is going to eventually look like. You know, that'd be really, really cool. Except for Butterholes didn't want to carve into the fuselage. Yeah, no, it is a little bit. Yeah, when it takes guts to do what Lupercal did for his Freelancer. So Lupercal won the paint contest. And I can never find the photo. Someone can link me the photo and I'll show it. But he won the paint contest with a really heavily damaged Freelancer model. And it is absolutely stunning what he did. But he really went to town boring holes in it. It was really, really, really good. You know, so certainly can do damage type stuff with us. The resin is softer to work with than sort of PLA plastics and like injection molded type plastics. Yeah, it does. Because I'm not a hand modeler. I've come at all my modeling and building from the CAD end of it. It was quite interesting. The last place I worked with a lot of carpenters, and obviously I'd done a lot of sort of huge wood builds like the Raven and the Dragonfly and the Kraken and things like that. And it always fascinated me because I was coming at the same problem from the completely other end of the spectrum. I'd started in CAD and learned how to use wood, and I was working with everyone else who had trained as a carpenter and were having to learn how to use CNC machines. Tell me more of this huge wood. You should see the size of my Raven, mate. So yeah, it was always interesting to kind of to sort of like see you should come into the same problem solving and the same tools at the end of it, but from completely other spectrums. So I'm a bit similar with 3D printing in that I started doing 3D printing for the Kraken model for CitizenCon, and taking what I knew of doing the massive CNC models and transposing those skills to doing the much smaller 3D printed models. So I've never gone down the usual route of starting as a 3D printing hobbyist, doing it that way, building models. I went from the big models, and it was all about miniaturizing what I knew from that and using it for 3D printing. As it turns out, I didn't have to miniaturize things really, because the detail that I can get on these printers is actually higher fidelity per size of model than I can with a CNC machine in wood. You know, the difference is just mind blowing. The detail you can get out of these printers. The Raven is a terrifying presence above you in the UK office. Yes, there's a couple of high up legal people in CIG that still don't like walking underneath it because they don't trust it won't just fall on their head. It's like. Yes, yeah, you're not allowed to take it home. Stop trying to steal my Raven. When we brought it home from Brian Chambers was the most annoyed person. Trust me, he was more annoyed than you because he thought he got to keep it for his office. But it's like, where are we going to put it? If any of you guys have been to the German office, it's the current German office is on the 3rd, 4th floor. I don't know what floor it's on because you just get into a little personnel elevator and go up to it. There's no way the Raven would fit in that elevator. There may be a service elevator. It's a huge modern building, but even so, there's nowhere in their office that it would go. Yes, you're right, but the new German office I can't wait to see. I really hope we get a call. Brian's going to have to bring the Stormbreaker and wrestle it off Eren though, because I think Eren might want to keep it if they move. You know, it's like it's got to live. It's got to live somewhere. Yeah, if you can take home, never trust people who say you can take so that man did not have the authority. Definitely not. At that point it was owned by Intel still, so because Intel actually paid for the Raven. It wasn't CIG. It was all part of the Optane hard drive launch. So we actually built it on behalf of Intel with CIG. Rather than for CIG. But then I think Intel were like, what are we going to do with it? Keep it. So they gave it to CIG. So, which is very nice of them. Yeah. No, it's I say it was all part of that promotion, which is quite good. It was the funniest thing I think from the funniest thing from that. I'll just move my camera and just find this photo. Cal's had a really awful, an interesting time with the guys from Intel over this one. On the day, sort of as you do. It's on my photo reel. Where do I put it? And it's one of these things that if you ever work with big companies like Intel, their brand guidelines and their sort of brand managers take their jobs very, very seriously because they've got to keep a very much a brand and make sure everyone is using the stuff properly. Now I've got, there we go. I have a handy picture. Here we go. So this is the Raven at CitizenCon. Now this Intel logo on the front was a bit of a pain because the guidelines said that it had to be straight. Has to be straight and level. Now, as you can see, we designed the least straight and level plinth to put the Raven on. It slopes in every direction. There is no, it's all straight and flat surfaces, but it's a bit of a geode, so it's, because we didn't want it just to be a ramp, we wanted it to skirt both ways to sort of show it off and make it look a bit more dynamic. So trying to work out Cal's and the guy from Intel there with that vinyl, because we put the vinyl on site, to make sure they were happy with it, like, what angle looked right. I think it was me and Carl Jones just sitting there going, just put it so it looks right. But it's just like it went on literally an hour of debating exactly what angle that Intel logo needed to go on that stand. I was in stitches. I'm just gonna go for a coffee. Just when you decided where it's going, just let me know and I'll put it on. But yeah, that was hilarious. The Aegis logos were far easier to do. But yeah, no, that was an interesting plinth, that one actually. It was one of those ones that was a lot easier to design than it was to build, and weighed a lot. Because the Raven's just over 1/4 ton, and it sits on 3 pins, which are hidden inside its landing gear. So it does actually sit on its feet when it's on a plinth, and then obviously at Winslow it's actually hung through very thin 2-ton wires. Brake wires through its wings, but yeah, it's a nice model. It's just not very practical for your living room, and unless you've got a 3-meter high ceiling, you can't even mount it flat on a wall either. So it's a bit inconvenient. So yes, so we were looking at this CARRACK tearing issue. So we're now in preform. So this is us seeing this front print layer by layer, and what we're looking for is this tear, there is a tear just here. I'll pull that out, see if we can shine some light through it. Okay. This obviously needs to be significantly. There we go. So there's a tear just there. You can actually sort of see if you can see a crack of light through it, but just above there, there's like a tiny little tear that comes all the way through. So that's the sort of thing we're looking at on these sort of final test prints. And when we look, pretty much guarantee that somewhere in here, as we go through the layers, zoom in a bit for you, as we go through the layers, there, so there it is. So there is a void just here where two geos are just sort of not interacting as they should. So we end up with this tiny void, in here, and it goes all the way through. So we end up with this point where this is absolutely zero thickness, and therefore will tear. So let's have a quick look at that, and that should be a relatively easy fix. So if we jump into this part of the model, we'll notice that it's not here. So that's because this model is separated up quite a bit into all of its portions, and it's actually this piece that we want. So let's pull that into this model. And it's probably this reason that it's happened, because we've had it as two separate models and not really ever noticed this gap. So it's this gap that's the problem. This gap in here. Now we still want there to be a sort of panel line around it, because that's sort of adding a bit to it, but we just don't want it to be anywhere near as deep, because it's the whole depth of this. So what we can actually do is just draw a line across here. What we may even find, let's just draw a line across here and just basically make a new little block that sits in here. So if we grab that surface and just grab this, so we don't need any of this, so that can go away, we just want this. And if we extrude it this way and that way a bit, that'll just take it. So we've still got ourselves a little panel line in here. We'll still get that same effect. It's now going to be busting through here as well. So we'll have to create a flat plane. Nope. And hack it off here. Like so. Okay, we might have to redig our magnet hole, but we'll see. So if we export that, and head into 3D Coat, see how well my graphics card's going to like this. I always get slightly nervous about streaming and using these GPU hungry programs. Right, so that's fine. So where's my CARRACK folder? So if we add oh, I'm in the wrong scale. Right, so that's the that's that solid we've just brought in here. That's just gonna NDA screen. I did totally make that 4 folder structures and everything. It's just like, yeah, should totally have done that. Right, so let's just have a look. I don't think it's going to mess anything up. I can't see it in that magnet hole, which is yeah, and then I didn't use it. God damn it. That's funny. So we're going to stick it in there. I'll stick it in Greeble as a layer. We'll just stick it in there. So that should have filled up that gap. And stopped us having that crack. No, I don't have two 3090s. I unfortunately have a 1080 Ti overclocked to fuck on water, admittedly. I put a AOI on it with a... It's got a 280mm rad, and it's just overclocked to fuck. But it's, yeah, it's old. It's old, but done a great service. And it's fine. To be honest, it's one of those things that most CAD programs... max out the CPU occasionally, but only one core. Most of their stuff is single core process stuff. On occasion, it'll just have a function it can do, and 3D CARRACK has one or two to do with voxelization and things that it can multi-core with. But CAD programs very rarely multi-core, and it's that I worry about actually more than the GPU, I suppose. Moving these models around, I suppose it is maxing my GPU out, so it might make OBS stutter a little bit. But it's if the program decides no, I want all the CPU, that's when it might just shut the stream down. And it's not burning. No, my graphics card, genuinely hand on heart, never gets above 35 degrees, even with it overclocked. I can thoroughly recommend. It's a Kraken NZXT water cooling mount. So it's basically a. I could probably even, if we do this, this is like proper live television. 1 second. See my PC. It's completely dark, but you see there's 2 CPU coolers down there. Reach around. Yeah, so the one on the left is the graphics card one, but it just uses a normal CPU AOI cooler, and it's basically just a mounting bracket that allows you to take the case off take the fans and everything off the GPU and replace it with a mount. A mount for an AOI, and they're absolutely brilliant. It helps also that I live in Scotland, so I don't have to deal with really hot rooms as well. It's nice and cold in here. Asnog, leak of new ships. Not that I've seen. There's been any new ships. Oh, like leaks. I see what you mean. It's interesting as you say that. So you want to see a ship leak? I have a ship leak. So. Not as exciting, but a resin leak. Here you go. So we'll also find that there is just behind this wall. It's probably easier to show you on this print. You see, there's quite a lot of walls inside this because there's the hangar on top, and then there's the cargo bay, and then there's this cutout for the landing gear, and then there's the garage that sort of goes up behind this and into there. So down these sides there are some voids. And for whatever reason, there is a void that's collected a bit of resin and then has leaked out. So one of the issues you have with these sort of 3D print resins is it prints on the printer from the base, and then when you put it in the wash, you put it the other way up, so it sort of fills, which is why it's handy to have great big holes in the bottom as well. But with a complicated shape like this, you will still get resin getting trapped somewhere. And although the washers, cycle the IPA around, moves it as much as can, there will be cavities where there just isn't the flow. There isn't the sort of disturbance in it. And it won't quite get it out. But you could hold it there forever, and it's because the resin is really thick and viscous, it'll just stay there. It won't slowly drip out, it'll just stay there. As soon as you put it in the cure, which is 60 degrees Celsius, it obviously brings the viscosity right down of this resin. It just bleeds out like water, and then of course as soon as it comes out and meets the UV light, it cures. And although this looks shiny, this is solid. So that little leak has leaked out when it was in the cure, bled out and set. So obviously I need to work out where that's pooling and fill it in or give it a path to escape. So these are. I was saying this last week. It's amazing how many prints you have to do to get this perfect. Toy Gruben, hello, thank you very much. It is looking good. We're genuinely pleased. Today was the first time I really kind of put it together from a point of view of. I shall put I'll put it all back together. From a point of view of actually putting its sort of landing gear, feet on. And I'll drop that bit I didn't glue in. That was silly. Getting its feet on, getting landing gear properly tuned into it, and yeah, genuinely, really. You talk about models all the time. Oh, thank you very much. That's much appreciated. We do very much, if I'm honest, run on word of mouth a lot of the time. So, and I've never met a mouthy lot that no. It is great to have people discussing us and passing us around and letting us know what you guys kind of want next out of us, because I say I'm really excited for I am really excited for these things. These I've been waiting to do these for so long because it's people have always wanted to be able to collect their whole fleets. And it's like, we couldn't start with these because they're too small. We kind of had to set the precedence with all the big kit models, so you can build sort of big models of. That Karen looks a bit skinny then. Guarantee you it's not. You can. It's exactly the right size. This is, I will admit, a really dumb camera. It's just a webcam. But yes, it is. Yeah, she's as fat as she needs to be. Girthy. But yeah, it's really nice having like the option now to really start going, right, we're going to do everything. We're going to go all the way through, the range of every ship and do that in this 1 to 500 scale, because it means that finally, finally we can actually, people can collect their fleet. I want a Perseus 1 to 100. Good for you. I want a Hammerhead in 1 to 100, because a Hammerhead is my ship. And I've always been tempted to do myself a Hammerhead in 1 to 100. We did do a little bit of one once. Wait there. So this is a chunk of 1 to 100 Hammerhead. It's only a very, very small bit of it, obviously. And you like the background? Yes, I'm in my Freelancer Max, mate. So this is a bit of set piece we had that we did of this sort of derelict sunken Hammerhead, so it was sort of in sand, and it's we did it for a some photographs of a model that never got released, and it's still on the list to get released. It's just how we're having a technical issue with it. It's just, like I was saying before, there's this one part of it that we're not happy with, so it's nearly a year from that we actually made it and everything. But yeah, so this is the very front port side hammer head bit of the hammerhead, if you know what I mean, the very front. So you can sort of just see it, one of its forward-facing thrusters sticking out there, and obviously its turret. Obviously, it's supposed to be on a planet, so it's all the glass is gone and smashed, and the sand has got in and everything, and yeah. So that is a piece of 1/100 hammerhead. So I mean, the whole thing would be absolutely phenomenally cool and phenomenally big. So, but 1/500. Hammerhead would be smaller than the CARRACK, so it's it's a nice. I can't wait to do a hammerhead. Really want to do a hammerhead. So yeah, so that's kind of where we are. It's going well. I think another solid day just to catch all these final little bits of, you know, like the antenna rework and bits like that. Probably then another day on the cargo pods. So I really want to do the cargo pods. Obviously, we've got 3 cargo pods that interchange that are just plain cargo pods. I want to do one with the doors open so you can kind of see the inside of it. Hello, Herzig, no worries. So I want to do one that's open so you can see the internals with its sort of doors folded out. I also want to do 1 or 2, haven't quite decided yet, that are where the stands go into for when you're displaying it in flight on a stand. So you basically replace, there'll be 1 or 2, depending on how I feel about its security, where basically that is how it sits on its stand. So there's basically 2 sacrificial cargo pods where the sort of upstands go into, so that when you take it away there isn't a hole, because you can replace it with the normal one. So there's probably a day of messing about with that, and then there's this clear cast canopy to deal with. So we're probably a week of work away from the CARRACK being ready to send to JC. These diorama ships have gone to JC now. They're winging their way as we speak in the mail, for him to sign off and for them to be ready to go on sale. So the artwork is just about done as well, so that'll be going off. So fingers crossed, everything being as it can be. We have all the clamshells, we have all the foam now for these little ships. So once we've got an artwork sign off, we can send the art to the printers, and soon TM, and then once JC is happy with them, we can put them on sale. We also have to print some. Obviously, the printers need to do some. So, assuming that we send the artwork to CIG next couple of days, and obviously JC's already got these are on the way to JC. JC will sign them off. We'll then start printing them. Artwork gets signed off, we'll then send it to the printers. Printers usually take about 10 days. So we are looking at the first week in Q3. We said Q3 for these launch, but maybe the end of the first week, something like that, sort of would be our really sort of target for getting them out as soon as humanly possible. So, and these are going to go on sale, these dioramas, as a single drop of all 7 of them. So the Arrow pack with 4 arrows in, the Pisces pack with 4 Pisces in, and then the other 5, there's 1 of each in those. And they're going to go out as a drop by themselves before the CARRACK is out. Just going to launch these 7 diorama ships first. We've asked you a couple of times in streams and stuff whether you'd prefer to have these as a separate drop sale-wise, and I was like, yes, give one of the little ships. So that's what we're going to do. So these will all go on sale. To answer a few questions about these that we got in our server from Leonard, I think, these are not limited to 500. They don't come with certificates. They do come with a little hologrammatic decal like all our other dioramas do, but they're not limited to 500. So there's no dash to be in the top 10 to get your personalized boxes. There's none of that with these, and there isn't a limited number available ever. These will be sold for as long as people want to buy them. So there's not that extra cost to deal with the exclusivity of it. So hopefully these will be very much affordable for people. And I say, the whole point of these is so that people can collect their whole fleet. If you got it in game, you can get it in a little model. And the theory goes, which I've not found an exception to it, 1 to 500 ships will cost a lot more, cost a lot less than the ship does in game. I can't remember. I think I was jumped into Zockley's stream on Sunday after we'd done the Pirates of the Caribbean coin build on Sunday. Talking to people who hadn't come across our models before, they were like, "Oh yeah, so your models will be about a tenth of the price of in-game ships." Just like, well, it kind of depends on the scale, doesn't it? It's like, that's probably one of the issues we have with the tumbrils up there. Is like those tumbril models are a lot more expensive than the tumbrils in-game because they're really big models of them. So it's like, why a model price and an in-game price would have any correlation, I really don't know. It entirely dependent on the scale. That's how I'm getting my Scorpius. Yeah, the Ranger is... I'm looking forward to the Ranger in... everything's pinging at once. Thank you, Aaron Luke Marshall. I think that's what it says. I'm reading in between lines, in between my ships there. Thank you for the follow. Have you tried the P52 or P72? Yes, I haven't tried them yet. We were having issues with the thin wings on the Pisces. We did need to bulk those up quite a lot. But interestingly, they don't look like they're overly bulked up, I don't think. I'll try and see if this camera will catch. I don't feel that they look ridiculous. Same with the landing gear. The landing gear are so much fatter than they should be. Might be better on a white background. But these wings, they are huge. They're like 5 times as thick as they should be. But they just don't look silly. And these are now perfectly strong enough because it's in the Tough 2000 resin. So I'm very happy with them. I say it's weird how... so this is a 1 to 500 Pisces to go in the hangar. Boop. So we can play the Does It Fit game. It's mad, isn't it? I mean, it is... this is all the 1 to 500, 1 to 500 stuff. So I say that's the same Pisces sitting at the front, literally the same Pisces sitting at the front there. So it really is. You really do get to see the actual. It sounds daft. The actual scale of these models. I've got a little arrow we can put in there too. It is amazing how big these, some of these ships are, and it is also amazing how CIG create these ships. And so many people said, "Oh, I wish you did all the ships in the same scale." Well, it's like they're just so big. The big ships are just so big. They're just impossibly big. Some bad parking. Okay. Jay, have to use a bit of your imagination here, because that's just the body of a cutlass. Yeah. Thank you, Nexio. God, you guys are challenging me today. Thank you for the follow. Very much appreciated. Can you have the wings and land in the reactor fixed if you fly fast enough? Right, sorry. So the wings, so for the arrow and the... Hello, Barchi. How are you? Thank you for the host. Very much appreciated. 07s to everyone joining. Welcome, welcome. So I've got to zoom up now because this is all going to go wrong. So, can you have the wings inland at a fixture check? So, Aaron Luke Marshall, are you talking about the Pisces and the arrows here, or the CARRACK? So, I'll answer them both. Answer them both really quick. So, the CARRACK is all interchangeable stuff. So, all this will be on magnets. So we have so that's on like flight wing and stuff. And then we had an aerial a minute ago. So excuse all these non-glued together parts. So obviously it's got all the bits of all the aerial and everything. So that's all nice and interchangeable. For the smaller 1 to 500s, the issue we have with the small 1 to 500s is that the very small ships like the Pisces and the Arrow are just too small to have interchangeable landing gear. So what we're doing for those kits, and they are, let's be fair, quite small. So we're not doing basically a kit with just one of these, and it's a single piece print. So that kit, the Arrow and the Pisces, the diorama kit comes with 3 in-flight and 1 landed of both of those ships. So the Pisces kit has 3 in-flight Pisces and 1 in landed state, because they are just too goddamn fragile to to be able to build them. I mean, they're way too small. And the larger ships behind the other slightly larger 1 to 500 ships are the sort of 3-inch ships of the Freelancers and the Cutlasses. They come with both sets of landing gear. So on the thing, you've got the landed and retracted landing gear options, so you can build it in one or the other. Oh, right. Store details. Totally. I'm going to say, if you put that store, it goddamn works. Thank you, Cals, for setting everything up so good in this stream. So, these particular models, these 1 to 500, you will not find on the store. These are probably 2 weeks away from launch. We're doing the CARRACK and these 1 to 500s in open development. So this is the first time we've sort of like done a behind the scenes running commentary of us designing these ships. We usually keep them quite under wraps. We thought, why? Star Citizen's all about open development, so we've been going through all the stages of what actually goes into making them. So we've got really early prints here with no detailing on, kind of, versus the current one with all its panel ironing and all this sort of stuff, and sort of how we are they available for pickup direct or not? So here's an interesting one. We're UK based. I'm not joking when I say less than 5% of our sales are to the UK. We ship pretty much 95% of our stuff to either EU or US Canada. Pretty much straight down the middle. There's still some to go to Australia. We sent some stuff to Kuwait this week. Japan. We literally ship worldwide. Russia is the only one we really struggle with, just because the Royal Mail to the Russian equivalent gets a bit tricky for some reason. So we've had to send stuff via Germany to get it to Russia. But yes, we do ship worldwide. We try and keep the shipping costs down as much as we can. International shipping has gone crazy this last year, so we try and keep on top of it and try and keep it, sort of as realistic as possible. But you just kind of have to bear with us a little bit on it. We are producing all of this ourselves, and it's interesting because this is the first project, and when I say project, I don't just mean the CARRACK as an individual project. I more mean doing the kit models, doing kit models as a direct to customer project. So us designing, building, and actually shipping them to customers. This is the first time we've ever done this. As a company, we are more traditionally an events company, working with people like CIG, obviously doing all the big builds for Gamescom, CitizenCon, all that kind of stuff. We had started doing these before COVID. We launched the first one, the Grey Cat, in 2019. And Yeah, during COVID, we've done a lot more of it because we haven't really had anything else to do because it's sitting on our hands because there were no events. So we have ramped up the production on these. There are quite a few in production. I'll show you the chart very quickly. So we announced, we're doing all the 1 to 500s in open development. So I did put a quick chart together that we discussed a couple of streams ago. If I just open that up, basically it's a colossal sized photo, basically showing what's coming, this year for 1 to 500s, and what's coming, what are still available to be added to the roadmap, which I know sounds bizarre, but there are obviously quite a few. All right, to zoom out a little bit here. Right, so this is a very high res image, which is why it took a while to load. So this is our own chart, our own ship chart. Of what ships are available for us to make as 1 to 500 models. So this is we're just talking 1 to 500 at this point. So the prerequisites for us making a model are that it needs to be flight ready in game, or at least in game. And you say, "Oh, the Idris is there." It's like, okay, cool. In game enough that we're happy that it's not going to fundamentally change, so we can make a model of it. And there are a few on this list that there are some question marks over that, and we would address that with Ben Curtis and people. If we decided to do that model, we would double check. But these are the only ships that we are currently looking at because they're the only ones that are in game. So right on the left hand side, you've got all the fighters and small ships. And then you've got stuff like the freelancers, slightly bigger stuff, and then this this row here are basically the kit models. So our normal size kit models, obviously, see the CARRACK up there. They are what we would consider to be kit models rather than diorama kits. So, and not Vandal. Yes, we're not doing Vandal till Squadron because, as far as I'm concerned, they're not nailed down until Squadron. So the ones that are highlighted in yellow are the ones that are coming out in this next drop in Q3. So Cutlass Red, Cutlass Black. I keep getting shouted at in the server for not doing the Cutlass Blue. I sort of forgot it was in-game. And when I say sort of forgot, I entirely missed that it got dropped into game, and I just assumed it was still to be dropped. And didn't go and check because I know best. And turned out it's been in game for ages and I've just never seen one. So apologies for all Cutlass Blue fans. I will attempt to add it in before the end of the year. But obviously we have to go through all the licensing process and everything, and we put the licenses for these in quite a long time ago. So will you make... Oh yes, for 100 million players. Yes, screw the blue. Yeah, 1-to-1 models will be. Yeah, they'd be quite big. We did a 1-to-1 Dragonfly. We have done 1-to-1 models of Star Citizen ships, but that was big enough. Thank you very much. I don't know. We did try and work out what the largest 1-to-1 ship that's. Oh, interesting. What payment method on our site gives us the most profit? That's a really good question. I don't think it matters because both PayPal and Stripe charge you the same for processing cards. No, thank you for the question though. But I think they are within 0.1% exactly the same. The only thing I would say, if you're buying from outside the UK, if you pay in pounds, we get more money because we don't have to pay to have it. We have to pay like 2% or 2.5% for the exchange rates to be charged. But yeah, I don't think there's any difference between PayPal and Stripe. So no king. Well, we will do a 1 to 500 kingship once it's in game. It's the same with the Bengal. I can't see them being models that people are going to buy. Saying that, you guys are amazing nutcases. But yeah, they're going to be big. Well, we can sort of see here, the Idris is a 20-inch model, so 0.5 meter long in this scale. it's the retribution. Go away, Ungie. The retributions are building, like in 1 to 500. It's interesting because I thought there'd be loads more models up for Bengal's about 1 kilometer. I think it's even long. I think it's more than 8. Yeah, I think it's about 1 kilometer. I think. There's only these 5 currently there, so it's CARRACK we're doing. So the announcement for the rest of the year, the Q4 this year, we're doing the Starlifter, the MSR, the Sabre, Vanguard, Mantis, Freelancer Miz, Gladius, Buccaneer, I think that's all. And the Cutlass Blue if I can get it in. So we'll try and sneak the blue in. You forgot to mark the Avenger, did I? Oh no, I didn't. Hashkahar really loves the Avenger. We found this out, I found this out about him when we first looked at this chart, and he's a little obsessed. Just a little obsessed. Yes, so a 2 meter model in 1 to 500. That's the sort of model we do for an event and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's we've obviously built bigger models, but we'd really want to do it unlike the Kraken that we did. I'd love to do it all 3D printed. We have companies that we can go to have those sort of size 3D prints done. They're obviously hugely expensive, but it is very possible to have those one-offs. They can't do Polaris or Perseus. They're not on this chart. They're not in game. And we do get asked questions. Well, why can't we do a ship that isn't in game? 2 simple reasons. One, we have to get it through CIG. So we've got to get a license agreed for each individual product, and then JC has to sign off. Has to sign off the actual model when it's finished. The other issue is that all of this detailing. To knock those off. All of this detailing and the panel lines and everything are just not on the concept models. We start off with the same models that that are basically the Holovia models, and we turn them into this, and we have to draw all this panel lining on and do all of this stuff by hand. And it just doesn't this doesn't exist for the concept models. So even if we were allowed to do them, there isn't enough information for me to make a model that's up to scratch. 2 meter more with the lights and hangar doors open. Well, I mean, we've managed to do all the hangars on this. We've got the garage and the hangar and everything, and we have got clear prints to go behind every single window that should light up. So this one has fully lights up. We haven't done the full interior though. We haven't done the full interior. That would be nuts. But yeah, no, I actually quite like the fact that we've got all of these clear elements. So you might be seeing this one. Oh no, holding up the wrong piece. So you can sort of see the light coming through all the windows inside, and the nose will obviously be lightable. Yeah, no, I know, stop tempting me! Be tempted by the models. But no, I say I am quite pleased with how this is progressing. CARRACK wise, it's difficult to put a date on the CARRACK yet. Still well on track for Q3. I say these not these little guys. These little guys should be out 2 weeks time, two and a half, something like that. Would be like we're firing towards trying to get these out ASAP. So 2 weeks realistically is going to be the soonest they're going to be out, which will be phenomenal. And the CARRACK's probably 2-3 weeks after that. A lot comes down, I'll be honest, a lot comes down to the nose. So the nose of this CARRACK is the hardest part, certainly left to do. So we're going to model, for anyone that wasn't here before, we're going to model the interior of the bridge, so the mid-deck and seats if we can, all that kind of stuff. And then that print will be really, really, really delicate, too delicate to ship out and have people, to model with. But we're going to cast this whole nose canopy as a solid block of clear resin. So we'll basically cast the interior of the bridge in a solid block of resin that then pops in and out, like the other one that I just threw aside. Like this one, so this was a clear print on magnets, so it pops in and out. And that, because the other reason why it's on magnets is that we definitely want to have it so that when they do the armored canopy, we can do the armored canopy as a diorama accessory, so that you can just swap it out sort of after you've painted it. And then we can get the tint. There's a slightly blue tint to the canopy on the CARRACK. So that's really cool. So we're trying to future-proof it as much as we can. I mean, that's the other advantage of having all the cargo pods on magnets and everything, so that you can drop the cargo pods in and out for when we can drop the cargo pods. And we never know, we might get different cargo pods later on. So so that'd be cool. Please make a Kraken one day. I'd love another crack at the Kraken. We have unfinished business, me and that Kraken. The Kraken we built for CitizenCon, I don't want to say that we shouldn't have done it. This is always an interesting question. Should we have done the Kraken? We wouldn't be doing these models now if we hadn't. That's for sure, because we didn't own a 3D printer back then. We literally got the contract to do the Kraken and bought a 3D printer the next day. It was delivered the day after that, and we were printing stuff by that evening. But we'd never 3D printed anything before that project. So we would never have got into 3D printing if it hadn't been for the Kraken build. Was it a sensible project to do? No. Not even close. We'd already got the contract to do the full-size Dragonfly. Hello, Death Ghosts. We'd already got the contract to do the full-size Dragonfly, and we had a 3-month window to design, build, and ship that to Austin. And that was a nice window. It was still pretty, it was still pretty tight window to do all of that for, a Dragonfly that I think nearly 800 people sat on it in the one day. It took, it had to take a beating. People literally jumping up and down on it and be still perfectly accurate was a challenge enough. And then when we took the Kraken on as well in the same time window, so we had 3 months to do both, design both, build both, ship both to Austin. It was not a sensible decision to do that. It was insane. It really nearly killed us. I mean, not physically, but I mean, it was a tense, horrible, there was weeks involved in that, which I have never forgotten, because it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, getting both of those jobs out of the door. The Kraken was cool. I won't say it was amazing, and this is the still thing in my head that was like, I wish I'd had more time on it. And it comes back to that. I'm not sorry we did it, but I am sorry we didn't have a couple more months to do it, because it was not as good as it could have been, not by quite a way, especially knowing what we know now. I mean, having to learn 3D printing on the fly while doing that project was harrowing, but yeah, I'd love to have another crack at the Kraken, definitely. We also weren't helped by the fact it was a concept model made up at least 50% of oversized caterpillar parts. So the inside of it was just this mess of bits of caterpillar and stuff. It was a crazy model that we had to deal with, and it wasn't the final model. So we had that model 3 months before the event. The one that actually was released in the trailer had a lot more detailing on, had a lot more geometry done on it than the one that we had, because it was 3 months old, and they were literally designing it up to the last one. If I fund the resin, would you make me a Kraken prototype? Still wouldn't be able to, because it's that whole thing of anything we do with CIG IP has to go through them, and they would never sign anything off that wasn't finished. Most Drake ships look like they're kit bashed. Yeah, yeah. It's so true. It's like the fact I realised that the Drake Herald's engines are the exact same pair of engines from the Caterpillar command module engines, which I like that part of Drake. Don't get me wrong. Drake's a horrible ship for us to do, especially for something like that Kraken project, because the outside surface is so greebly. If we'd been doing the 890. I know, there's too much glass on it. If we're doing something like say the 890 or something like that was nice, smooth, no greeble on it, that would have been less of a challenge than the Kraken. The Kraken had so much, and it had all the hangers, it had all the, all that kind of stuff on it. So I would like another go at the Kraken. Certainly can't wait to do it as a scale model. Again, it's longer than the Idris, I think, so it's not as big as the Idris, but it's longer than the Idris. This is this whole thing. There's a difference between size and scale. I tried to do this chart when we did this chart as a this is the size order of these ships. There are some. This is not by length; it's by size. So the Reliant being the classic example of something that is short, but it is really big because it's a B-wing. So this is what I consider to be the rough sizing. So that's why the Caterpillar actually sits up here as the largest one on my diorama list, and the 600 sits here because the 600 is a bigger ship than the Caterpillar. The Caterpillar is longer, but the 600 is bigger. So yeah. Seeing like CRG with timelines. What are you talking about? Would we do another? Yeah, I think yeah. I tell you if I could pick one ship to do for CRG for an event, it would be a 1 to 100 Idris. Or a 1 to 200 Javelin, whichever, whichever worked for the event. I think a 1 to 100 Idris, fully 3D printed, to the same level of detail that we do the Arrow model, and any of the other 1 to 100s we're going to do. That would be, I think, a stunning model. It'd only be about 8 feet long, so not as big as the Raven or the Kraken or the Dragonfly models that we've done, but it would be all be resin 3D printed. Did you see Javelin at CitizenCon? Yes, we built the stand that was sat on. We did, I think, 7 org booths for that CitizenCon. So that was Semcor, and we built the stand for them because they were based in Switzerland, I think, and they brought the model over in their car, but obviously couldn't bring the stand as well. So we did the stand for them, and yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I think. Then this is not me criticizing because it was a stunning piece of work and a huge amount of work had gone into that. FDM printing will never have that clarity and if we do a ship that kind of size, and the Idris would be that length, but obviously much wider, so it would be probably about twice the size of that Javelin model, we would do it in resin. So that we can keep this detail, the detail level of our, sort of, I mean, this is a fairly quick 1 to 100 model, but doing everything down to this sort of detail on the Idris. This is a bit of the hammerhead, obviously, but doing that sort of model for the full Idris would be great. And yeah, I'd want the other doors to open and be able to see through it and have the bridge. And I'd like to do cutaways as well, because we do have people in 1 to 100, like the Arrow has its pilots and stuff. People are about the same size as people in sort of Hornby Railway sets. They're about that scale. The people in Hornby Railway sets aren't to the scale that the trains are by a long way. So they are really weird. But what happened to the Kraken model after CitizenCon? It is in, well, I won't say CRG Vaults. It's back in its box, sitting at LA. It was meant to go into the LA studio. The Dragonfly is in Austin because it was meant to go into the Austin studio. And by the time the models reached them, i.e. not by the time they reached them going from CitizenCon, by the time we built them for CitizenCon, both those studios had employed too many more people for them to fit. So the space that they were supposed to go into was now had desks and devs, and that's always been the problem. And it's so they're just basically sat in boxes waiting for their studios to get bigger. But I think they are moving. Well, I don't know. They were thinking of moving Austin. I think COVID has been a weird thing, hasn't it? Because a lot of people are going, I don't want to go back to the office. I want to work from home, or at least part-time from home. So that if CIG allow that, I don't think many game developers are keen on their people working from home because it's not very productive. If they did allow them to do it, then there would be, there would be quite a nice. There will be quite a nice little sort of extra space in these offices, I suppose, for that sort of model and things. I'd like to think that the Dragonfly will come back out for LA CitizenCon whenever that eventually happens. I assume next year. It'll be nice to see it back out again. I'd like to repaint it. I'd like to do it in one of Ben Curtis's new Dragonfly skins, because I really do like the new skins. They've done the black and red ones really nice. The white one's nice as well. I'd like to repaint it that. Not Star Kitten. Bad. We do have a Star Kitten. Where's the Star Kitten? Let me do that. I do have a picture of a Star Kitten Dragonfly somewhere. Won't be able to find it now, will I? Oh, there we go. There we go. There's a Star Kitten Dragonfly. Hello, Stormtrooper. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Boo, I'm late. You are late. You are very late. I was supposed to finish half an hour ago, but all these wonderful people came in and asked some questions. So I quite... Yes, do you like my shower curtain NDA screen that I keep forgetting to use? Yeah, the old Star Kitten Draft. So that is one of Disco Lando's models that we had painted for him. So he bought the models and then had a commission paintwork on them for some cool stuff. So he had that, and what else did he have? I think I've got all of them here somewhere. That's his PTV, so that's in Disco Lando Blue. Thank you very much, Star Jump Grim, for the follow. Much appreciated. See you, Nighthawk. Laters. Thank you for dropping in. So that's Disco Lando's golden blue Lando Calrissian color scheme, which is quite nice. And he does have another one. He does have another one somewhere, which is both amazing and grotesque at the same time. There she is. There she blows. The National Lampoon's Freelancer Max for anyone who hasn't seen this amazing monstrosity. I don't get it, but if you want a wood-panelled, Freelancer Max, there you go. It's just like I agree. It looks awesome. I love it and hate it in sort of equal measure. It's a tremendously terrible thing. Beautifully painted by our painter Brett. But yeah, no, awesome and awful at the same time. But this is the joy of models, isn't it? You can yes, it is quite Futurama. That's very true. That would be quite a cool one. Do it in Planet Express colours. That'd be cool. But yeah, no, it's the joy of models, isn't it? You can do it in your org skins. You can do it in National Lampoon if you want. You know that's the that's the joy of it. We'll go with joy, shall we? I was having a look at. We're talking Krakens. I did see a picture. I love this picture. I don't know what this is. I don't know if Drew's still around. This is Drew at the JRDF prayer booth. This is just one of those weird candid pictures that you sort of look through the picture and go, "What the fuck is going on here?" don't understand. I wasn't there for that bit. Yeah, no, there was a... Oh, that I actually forget that we've done, and because it came in and out the door, but not many people have actually seen that. But yeah, that's the Blade Runner police scanner that we did. Again, really, really nice paint job by Brett. Really made it stand out. And there's so many decals on it. There's just so many. It was like a whole sheet of decals of that one, which was hilarious. We're talking Krakens, and I saw a picture of the Kraken somewhere in one of these many folders. My favourite picture of the Kraken. The one where it's on fire. No. Still not been allowed to burn the Kraken. Oh, I've got to find it now. It was the hangar. Oh, anyway. For anyone who didn't see the hangar at CitizenCon, I love that. I love the Buccaneer in there. So it's got a burnt out engine sitting next to it, and it has the lighting wasn't that as crazy as that in real life. It was quite difficult to take a picture of it. So it was supposed to be this sort of like air shield, sort of Star Wars-esque air shield was on the sort of sort of pictures of it. I don't know whether it's going to have that, but it was on the concept art, so we sort of had it, and it was a nice way of lighting it, because otherwise it was just absolutely dark. But the engine was really interesting, because the and again I did have I'll have to jump into my NDA one to find it, because it's not in these folders. It was basically a print error. So, like I said, this was the first time we'd ever done any 3D printing doing these models. I think the Buccaneer was the first thing we ever 3D printed. And one of the failures that we had... there we go. One of the failures that we had was this Buccaneer engine. This Buccaneer engine here, and it just collapsed inside. We'd had no experience 3D printing. A lot of our stuff was failing, and one of these engines just disintegrated on one side. We washed it and cured it anyway, and Miserable G, who did all the painting for the Kraken, diorama pieces, said, "Oh no, that's cool." We sort of sent it to him just in case he needed some spare parts or something, and he did it like it was burnt out, and actually made something of the wrecked engine. So then we had it on this sort of skid, as if it was being, sort of like as if it just had been replaced off the Buccaneer, which I really, really like. Do you know what I mean? It was really nice to sort of get that realism on it. And I say, this was just so ludicrously quickly done as well. In storage in LA, yes, all of this stuff is in a suitcase in LA. There's the big Cutlass. I mean, this is all 1:72. So this is the thing. We did all the Kraken is 1:72, which is a terrible scale, it turns out, for Star Citizen. The people are not really big enough to do really amazing paint jobs on. You want them kind of more Warhammer size, so you need to go to 1:40 to get Warhammer sized people. 1:100 means the people are just way too small, and the whole ship would have been too small anyway, so we wanted to be bigger than that. So we picked 1:72 because it's a relatively common scale. Dreadful for Star Citizen. The Cutlass was the definite sort of proof of the pudding of that, because the Cutlass only just fitted in a carry-on suitcase luggage bag on the plane, and is gargantuan, and impractically big. We could never do it as a model to sell. It's just too big. It weighed something like 4 kilos of resin. I mean, yes, we were not experienced 3D printers back then, so it was way too heavy. A lot of it was way too heavy than it should have been. But yeah, it was. It's about £500 worth of resin just in it. It was mad. It was absolutely mad. Yeah, just a little bit. Well, I'll tell you how we got it there. So, which was hilarious in itself. So, the Kraken and the Dragonfly went in boxes, which I think are. So these boxes, this was one of the crates. So there were 4 of these crates that we air freighted over. So that's the fantastic Westbrook Drew with his massive gun off the Dragonfly. But there's actually a picture of it leaving. These folders are all over the place. I apologise. Here we go. So this was them leaving us. And yes. It's very true, Carls. It's very true. They said there were 4 of these crates that went. They left us. They went down to Heathrow and were flown from Heathrow to Dallas, and then trucked from Dallas to Austin. So obviously there was a risk of damage and all this sort of stuff. So we sent them over with a 2-week window to fix things if anything had happened to any of these crates. So that they were there. They set off whatever morning this was, so that they'd be there 2 weeks ahead of schedule. We left that morning after these crates had gone. We got on a plane to Frankfurt because we were going to Con 42, the German fan event. So we went straight to that and did that event with our stuff as well. We'd already shipped over desks and stuff to do Con 42. But all the models were still in Wales at this point, being painted by Miserable G. So the models didn't go in these crates. The models came over once they were painted. Funny thing about that was that by the time we left for Austin to meet the crates at the other end, 2 weeks before the event, these models hadn't been finished painted by this point because we were so up against it time-wise. So Moist Noodle went to Miz's house because he also lived in Wales. Miz wasn't coming to the event. He had a prior engagement. Picked up all the models from Miz, put them all in his luggage, and Moist Noodle flew all of the models over, on the plane, literally holding the case with the cutlass in because it didn't fit anyway. He didn't want to damage it, and met us in Austin for the event. It was not stressful, let's say, from that point of view. But at least I was less stressed about the models, massively less stressed about the models than the 3D printed models than the big ones, because CitizenCon that year was the first year that I had ever done an event where I was trying to find a picture of Drew again fixing the models on site. I'm sure I had that somewhere, because there was a tiny bit of damage. I mean, you can't expect there to be nothing. No, I can't find it now. All of these models came over with Noodle. I wasn't particularly worried about that because we physically had a person, Noodle, had these models and, was looking after them from A to B. The crates, on the other hand, it was the first event I had ever done as an event professional where I hadn't gone with it. Usually it gets loaded into a truck and I drive the truck to wherever it's going. When we'd done German events, I am physically in the truck. When we did CitizenCon, we did Gamescom, I was physically in the vehicle taking all that stuff to that event. So I know where it is, that it's safe, all the rest of it. That was the first time we'd waved bye-bye to months and months of work to go to an event that we were then going to put it together in. And it's like, oh yeah, here's 8 different companies that are going to be handling this thing through ports and importers and all this kind of stuff. It was the most stressful thing, just waiting for text coming through to say it got to here. Were we going to get any more port fee, like handling fees and stuff? Was it the right weight? All this kind of stuff, because obviously they have to weigh things quite carefully on planes. And those 4 boxes together were 1.4 ton, I think, because the Dragonfly was 520 kilos and the Kraken was 400 and something plus the boxes, and all its ancillary stuff. CARRACK, 1.4 ton is huge. They were big ass boxes. And interesting, the thing with the Dragonfly was, one of the biggest issues we had with the Dragonfly was we had to build the Dragonfly in such a way that there wasn't any part of it that was longer than 2.4 meters, because that was the longest air freight shipping box that you can put on a plane. So those front engines, the front engines on the Dragonfly itself are longer than 2.4 meters. So they had to be in more than one piece, because as just those front engines are 1.6 meters. 2.6 meters. They are taller than I am when you stand them up. Temporary? No, because they weren't temporary. It stayed over there. These were actually exported models to pieces to the States. So, because this was it was an option, but we sort of said, "Are you bringing them back?" And no, they're going to go into the offices, because they said the plan at that point was, before they'd put too many people in the offices, they were just going to go and live in there as cool things. So they, because they were never coming back, they were properly fully exported. So there was no part of this Dragonfly that could be too big to fit in an air freight box. It's just it was all very exciting. It was the most stressful thing we've ever done in our life. And then we had to put it all together, because it came in so many pieces. Because I say we couldn't pre-build it; it was just too big. It was 5-point-something meters long. So it was way too big for doing any of that kind of shenanigans with it. This is probably my favorite. This is my favorite picture from the event, though. This was so I think if James is still around, I'd not met Stormtrooper at this point. He was in a hotel across the road from the Long Center, taking pictures from his balcony of us building this at 3 a.m. And it was just because it is one of those things, we if anyone was there at CitizenCon that year, I'd never been to America before, not been since either, and I'm not a huge fan of hot countries, all that kind of stuff, and it was the most humid and hot place I've ever been in my life. I didn't enjoy it from that point of view. It was horrible. The Dragonfly was outside, so I couldn't avoid it. And the storms that we had the week before CitizenCon, the day of CitizenCon was glorious. Wasn't too hot. It didn't rain, but the rain we were having the week leading up to it was, tropical storm in my opinion. Probably wasn't, but absolutely torrential rain. And there was a big storm forecast for overnight the day before the. You wouldn't be a fan of living in hot places. Go, no, I moved from Yorkshire to Scotland because Yorkshire was too hot. And there was a big storm forecast overnight. So we couldn't risk building this the day before out in the main courtyard where it was going to be for the day. So we built it just off to the side, under where you see it in this picture, underneath this canopy, and then lifted it with a forklift the next morning. So very, very carefully in one piece, because we never really intended to pick it up in one piece at any point. It's Scotland is pretty hot right now. No. It's about 17 degrees. Scotland's never hot. I think the rest of the UK is having some hot weather. We ain't. It has been sunny. Well, it did rain quite heavily today. Excellent, Ewan Carr. Fantastic. That's God's country. That is where. Yes, absolutely. I'm a Yorkshireman through and through. Damn Scots. Yeah, it was fun to watch us do all that. Yeah, you were there, weren't you, Farmaster? You helped us a lot. You went and got us lots of things to make it easier. It was interesting, I say. I would have loved to have taken this in one piece and just forklifted it. Interestingly, this would have filled a HGV trailer, a rig trailer. It was, the entirety of the back of a lorry. Worth of space, but if we could have taken it in one piece, we would have done and forklifted it out. But I say the restrictions for air freighting were insane. And there's a few people in here as well that also helped us carry the Kraken up a flight of stairs because it was so big it didn't fit in the elevator in the long center, which we knew ahead of time. We knew it wasn't going to fit. It wasn't like, oh no. But it was only 2 flights of stairs, and there were like wide staircases, so it was like, we're just going to have to lift these. And I think each part was about 170 kilos, so it took sort of 6 of us carrying it very carefully up and down stairs. The funniest thing about the whole Kraken project, oh, you're out, look, Lemonware, nice. How are the midges? The midges have been fucking shit down here the last few days. We haven't had many whole of this year yet, and this last week's been fucking just hideous. So the funniest thing from CitizenCon 2018 was CR and the Kraken. So for those that weren't at the event, the Kraken was a big reveal. So they had the main hall at the Long Centre, and then this separate room, which was the Drake booth, on its own up on the top floor, and that was segregated off, so no, you couldn't get to it until after the announcement because they didn't want people to walk past it and see. I know it was already leaked and stuff, but fine. But they sort of cordoned that off, so we'd already built it. It was already all nice and ready. All the diorama was set up on it and everything, and they did the announcement. But that was all physically shut off, so you couldn't walk through it. Only builders effectively you could get in from the back. So CR didn't see it because he was prepping for the presentations and everything. So he didn't see it before the event happened. And then the issue we had was that we were only allowed into the Long Centre very briefly the next day. The get out window was very small, so once the indoor part of CitizenCon had finished and we all went, everyone went outside because it was a big after party in the big courtyard in front. It's where all the pictures at night with Sandy and Chris on the Dragonfly and stuff. So the Dragonfly couldn't go anywhere because it was sort of centre of attention down for the disco. But we thought, well, we can break the Kraken up. As soon as the event's over and everyone's kicked out of the building, we can take the Kraken apart, because it was going to take ages to take all the diorama back apart, dismantle the Kraken, and then that meant first thing the next morning, the other event company that had done all the walls and stuff could then, we went in their way taking this massive model apart. So as soon as the final presentation was over, we went and took it down. And we didn't realise that CR never saw it. So we'd finished taking it all apart, walked out the building and past Chris and Sandy and Ortwin coming up the stairs, and said hi and everything. So, oh, we'll just come and see the Kraken. So we just took it apart, and Chris just laughed, went, really? It's like, yeah, sorry about that. He said, it's all right, it's coming to my office, and it never has. Well, it's physically there, but it's never been set up, so he has never seen it. So he never got to see it at all, which I find sad but amusing. I mean, it was just one of those funny moments that he literally could not believe that we'd taken it apart, and he never saw it. But it was only this, I think, is the worst thing about doing events like this. I do love doing live events and these sort of things, but the months and months of work that went in to building this Dragonfly and building the Kraken, they were seen by the public for 8 hours or 10 hours or something, and then they were put back away and never seen again. That was it. And it's just like the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that went into these models for 10 hours of being seen. And yeah, I don't mind it for things like the Raven and these when they eventually get to live in offices and just be loved for forevermore. But this is the thing that saddens me about these two models, is that they've literally seen the light of day for 10 hours and that was it. And it is very sad, yeah. But I say, great thing about the stuff that we build, it'll still be perfectly fine, exactly how we packed it away when we eventually do crack those boxes back open. And yeah, and Noodle cannot wait until we crack those boxes open, because he left his classic Game Boy in the bag. They brought the models in, so there's a classic Game Boy in one of these crates. That's Noodles. So as soon as that gets opened up, we'll be able to give him that back as well. What's the hardest part of 3D printing with liquid resin instead of filament? Well, I've never printed with filament, so I can't. Me and Drew have these interesting conversations. He's a better person to ask because he does both. I guess we don't have any experience with that. I think they have two very different use cases. I would like an FDM printer. I would like a very large FDM printer. So Dragonfly less so, but the Kraken is a better example for this. I don't know. I think I might have a zoomed out picture of the Kraken in one of these folders. We kind of all know what the Kraken looks like, but perhaps don't. Shows how much I love that model, doesn't it? No, I don't. I will have to go with the one we found before. Best one I've got. So the biggest issue I had with the Kraken is that the main body of it was all carved out of wood, like we did with the Dragonfly and what we did with the Raven. And then all the little models were 3D printed on resin. And resin printers are really the only way that, realistically, that you get to make stuff like this and get this sort of detail into stuff, without visible print lines and all the rest of it. This has to be resin printers. If you want to make a nice model, get a resin printer. The limitation, of course, is the size. Do you know what I mean? Resin printers are expensive. Good ones are very expensive. And yeah, it's one of those ones where resin printers are the way to go for this sort of stuff. And, also for the Kraken models. What I would have liked and what I want going forward doing similar models to the Kraken is that I'd like a big FDM printer, one that will print about 1 meter cubed, as a transitional printer, so that the core of it is still carved out of wood or nylon or something like that, depending if it's an indoor and outdoor model or that kind of stuff. Then have larger features like the decks and the sort of bigger landing gears and all that kind of stuff on the Kraken and stuff out of a out of maybe a PLA or an ABS plastic, or the sort of wood resin filament on a huge FDM printer, and then have all the really nice detail stuff, the ships, the turrets, the guns, all that kind of stuff with resin, like we did. Because I think having that middle ground step would make the whole model be more seamless. My biggest heartache with the Kraken was there was such a yawing gap between the resolution of the resin printers and the resolution of the carve of the model. If we'd had that big FDM in the middle, we could have tailored it to be a more seamless model, to basically have the fidelity as much as we could of the resin printer on something that was 5 meters long. If the budget is there for it, we could have had the whole thing printed in resin. It would have cost 10 grand of printing, because you're talking about using other people's printers that cost a couple of £1 million. But we do have that option. It's a cheating option in a way, in that we're not manufacturing it, but we still have to design it in stupidly high detail to be able to sort of make the most of the resin. I think if you're looking to get into 3D printing, there's certainly not anything wrong with going down the line of the cheaper resin printers. The bit of advice I would give you: join our Discord if you're not in there already. We have not only a makers channel, but we also have a kit list channel in our Discord. And what we've asked people to do is to throw in there what equipment, 3D printers, anything, basically all their buildy equipment, so that you can go through that list and go, right, okay, I want a resin printer. It's a toss-up between this printer or this printer. Look who has them or who has had them, and then just ask them questions about it. Because a lot of the time, you can only get good advice from people who have actually used these printers. We're a bit actually useless for that because we've only ever owned two 3D printers, types of 3D printers, the Formlabs Form 2 and the Formlabs Form 3. So we've been very lucky in that we've came at 3D printing through the CARRACK project and could afford to get top of the range printers because we needed top of the range printers for what we were doing. We've never had hobbyist printers, we've never had FDM printers. Westbrook Drew is probably one of the best people. He's in the chat. He's probably one of the best people to ask about the differences between them because he now has a Formlabs printer. So he's done both sides of that thing. If you're doing little models, high detail models, go resin. If you're making sort of things that are more robust, things that you want to use, physical things that don't need to be particularly high detail, FDM is much better because the materials are cheaper and they're a lot more robust. Like, stuff, COVID shield, bands, and you can actually make things that you can give a good kicking to and, are not going to let you down. So it is very much dependent on what you're actually what you're actually going to make with the printer. Are you taking pre-orders for the CARRACK, bearing in mind it's limited to 500 print run? No. Two reasons. One, I'd love to say, God, I would love to say that the 500 print run would mean that you have to be really quick to get one. One day that might be true. But we have yet to sell out a model, sadly. The Arrow is... So the PTV is slightly separate. The PTV was the first model we did. We haven't done 500 of them. It was before. It's the only one that isn't numbered with certificates because we hadn't come up with that idea at that point. There are only 24 of them left now. We're not actually doing... Once we've run out of the foam and the artwork that we had printed for that, we're not going to do any more. So there is only 24 PTVs. They're all on the shelf. Once they're gone, they are gone. And that'll be the first model that will get sold out. But we didn't do 500 of them, so fine. The Arrow is now past its halfway point, just. I think we've sold 255 Arrows. And that was the second model to come out. So that's now been out for nearly 2 years, or over 2 years now. So I'd love to say that those 500 CARRACKs are going to zoom off the shelf, and it would be gloriously wonderful if they would. I think it will be the most... Oh, thank you, Unica. It's one less, so there's now 256 or whatever it is. But yeah, we're just... I know the last time I boxed them up, I think there's like 30 odd on the shelf, and I've boxed up number 270 something. And this is the thing you also have to remember: we are physically printing and boxing and hand signing, and if you buy one of our kit models, I put it in the box, or certainly in the last 6 months. When we've done ones for events, we've all been packing them. Cal's has packed them, I've packed them, and everything. But the last 3 months or so, it's been me that's put them in the box as well. Because mainly because I've been running the laser up there, and it's one of those things that you can multitask quite well, packing kits and doing the lasers and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, it's literally hand packed by us guys. So I really hope the CARRACK is popular. We will. The reason that we don't the Durr was the first model we didn't do pre-sell on. We don't like doing pre-selling. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with pre-selling a product. I think if you're doing it from a Kickstarter point of view, it's very different. We're not allowed to do Kickstarters. It's not under our license. Our license agreement prohibits it, which is fine. It's a proper commercial license. Not many of them do allow things like Kickstarters. So if it's a Kickstarter, I don't mind so much, because I mean, Kickstarter is just a really interesting way of pre-funding a project, and it's a sort of a combination with pre-funding and seeing if anyone wants it. Thank you very much. And it's thank you very much, Luke Marshall. Only 23 left now. I'll have to update my little picture. It does come up there occasionally. 24. I have to put 23 now. It's a good, like, artists, it's a good, quite a good way of artists to like, if they're going to release an album or something, like, well, pre-sell it on Kickstarter. If there aren't enough people who want that album, they just won't make it and people get their money back. So it's a really good way of, it would be a great way of us to do models in a way, because we go, right, we're going to put 10 models on Kickstarter, the first one to get funded will be the one we do, or you know, something like that. But anyway, that's not an option for us. But we can pre-sell, and we have pre-sold them before. And I think the interesting thing about pre-selling from your guys' point of view is like, okay, cool, we bought it ahead of time, you know, we've got it, you know, we look forward to it. From our point of view, because we're a very small manufacturer and stuff, it's great for the cash flow, obviously. It's why you pre-sell things, pays for the resin, makes the kits, it's all good. But it's all too easy to for that to be a bit of a cushion, and we got stung by that with the cyclones. It was our own fault, because we kind of had the date in mind of, you know, when we wanted these things to go actually be shipped. We didn't meet that deadline. We were still well within the 90 days, the sort of like a legal 90-day thing. If you pre-sell something, you actually have to ship it within 90 days. So we were well within that. But what we weren't in time for was Brexit. So the issue with Brexit was that for all you people in Europe, apologies, for all you people in Europe, because people pre-bought the cyclones before Brexit, we charged them VAT, which in Europe ranges from 17 to 27%, dependent on country. But because we were part of the EU at that point, we actually charged the correct VAT for your country and then gave it to your government as part of our sort of VAT rebate thing. Fine. But by the time they were shipped, it was post-Brexit. So when they got shipped out, those people were charged VAT again for the thing that was now being imported into the EU. So we had to go through and manually refund all the tax and everything, which was a huge headache for our tax people, like for our tax return and stuff. And you also get the whole thing. It doesn't quite keep me up at night, but I genuinely don't like having people's money when I haven't given them something. I don't like it. I really don't like it. So we've always never wanted to do, we've not wanted to do pre-sale. We've had to do pre-sale for cash flow. We're now just about at that point that we don't. So I don't want to do it, because it's a lot of extra work and stress for us, because once I've taken your money, I feel guilty every day I don't give you your product. So I don't want to take your money until I can give you the thing. So yeah, and it's also harder to do the marketing and stuff for it, because we effectively need to redo the marketing. You have to do the marketing twice. You're going to market the pre-sale, you're going to market the actual thing. So, but okay, since I own the expedition, nice. I don't have. Do we have an expedition? Leela's got a character. I think she's got the normal character because she got it as the gift for CitizenCon. She was a volunteer, so I think that's the normal, not the expo. When will 500 right? So 500, 1 to 500 dioramas. Which I shall flip back to, since we're talking about them. So many things open. So these guys should hopefully drop in about 2 to 3 weeks. So these have now left. For these actual models that you see on screen have actually got gone off to JC now, because John Crew hand signs off all of our models. He's a fantastic person to have, because he's huge into his Warhammer. He loves models, and he's obviously quite high up in the ship team. So he's a perfect person to sign our models off. The artwork is about to go off to the art and law and legal teams to sign off. So once it's gone through all that, we can then send it to the printers. So fingers crossed, 2 to 3 weeks. very sort of beginning of Q3, these all 7 will be available all as one big drop. So that's cool. Any plans to do the vehicles, etc.? So no, I'm not going to do. I've no plans at the moment of doing the 1 to 500 vehicles, mainly because they're just too small. I mean, when you consider, I'm not going to have one on my desk, am I? This is what happens when I'm such a tidy person. I've tidied everything away. That's bullshit. There's models everywhere, but not the ones I want. We've done 1 to 200 dioramas of the PTV, Dragonfly, TR, RC. Could I have some ground vehicles, please? Thank you. Carl is getting me ground vehicles in 1 to 200, and you'll see how small they are in 1 to 200. So in 1 to oh right, okay. So any ideas for tier 3 subs on Twitch? Maybe like fan post go from me. Oh yeah, we could totally do that. Yeah, we are firing towards our Twitch affiliate after this stream. I was thinking I was looking at the stats. If I do a sneaky stream tomorrow, doing a bit more of the Sea of Thieves coin, that will take us over the line. I think if I wait until Sunday, I lose the first one in the 30 days, and I have to wait till next Wednesday. So I think I might just try and do literally a sneaky stream tomorrow. Yeah, so we did we're doing a Sea of Thieves crossover coin. So it's a prop replica of the Pirates of the Caribbean Aztec gold coin, and on the reverse it's Sea of Thieves Pirate's Life. Thank you very much. Sea of Thieves A Pirate Life. Where can I buy that? Unfortunately, it won't be for sale because I don't have a license agreement with Sea of Thieves. But we're going to cast it in brass, so we're going to do it as a Lost Wax cast, just as a bit of a fun project, really. But unfortunately, I can't sell them because I don't have a license. So let's do a little bit of size comparising. So that is a 1 to 200 Dragonfly. Let's just play around with my desk cam for a moment. So I don't like having my desk cam on autofocus because it spends more time trying to focus on stuff than like half the stream is it trying to focus. So I just have it on fixed focus. So they're dragonflies. So they're 1 to 200, and that's a 1 to 500 Pisces. Don't know how helpful that is.
And that one can stay on my desk because I'm not on my desk.
So trying to that's them on their sprues. So it'd be great to have a 2 ships that are the same size, 1 to 500 to no, it's 1 to 100. Oh, that's really annoying. We also have freelancers and stuff that are 1 to 200, and we have them, but I don't have one kicking around. Oh, that's so annoying. Yeah, I don't have anything 1 to 200. Well, 1 to 200 and the CARRACK for comparison. Don't know if that helps. I mean, that's just the weirdest scaling angle ever, isn't it? 1 second. I must have a bit of a ship somewhere. It won't be a full ship. 1 second. Success! Right, okay. This will be more helpful. Right, okay, so that is a 1 to 500 CARRACK. And this is a 1 to 200 freelancer. let's try and put them in a frame together. What a crap at this light box now. So yeah, so that gives you a little bit of an idea of the sort of size difference model-wise between the CARRACK model and our previously released models. So yeah, the CARRACK is big. The CARRACK is, you know, stand straight. The CARRACK's definitely the biggest model we've done. How many hours does the CARRACK take to make, as in build, to put together, or how many hours have we put into it to get it to this stage? They're two different things. To print. Okay, so both. Okay, so print time's an interesting one. Sorry, I apologise that there is no short answer to anything. I hope you find the actual answer interesting. I'm really bad at giving short answers. So if you were to print one by itself, roughly speaking, and I'm tying things up in my head at the moment because we don't have the final print set up, obviously, I'd say the CARRACK's probably a 60-odd hour print. Because each of the body sections are 17 hours. And then you've got the wings and, yeah, thinking, you know, to put it together. So I'd probably say about 60 hours, which is obviously, you know, a lot on a resin printer. However, that's one of the advantages of producing these as products, is that we never print things like that. There's two reasons, actually. So when you're printing on a resin printer, let me open up a file. Let me turn printability off first, because that often crashes things. So if I may just pick a random model, let's do a bit of a freelancer just as an example. So open, don't save. Okay, so we'll just jump across to NDA screen. There we go. Right, so this will load. I apologize if I there we go, freeze slightly. So we never print two different components on the same print. Two reasons for that. One, on a resin printer, your print time is more affected by the number of layers you have than anything else. So if it has to print anything on that layer, it will take a lot longer. So it's better to have everything on the print the same height, because the print will take effectively as long as it takes to print the tallest item. So it's not efficient to have a tall thing and loads of short things, you know, time efficiency wise. So what we do, because we're producing you know, a lot of the models, we do, right, every single part we put as many as we can on a single print. Okay, so this, for example, is the nose section of the Freelancer Der. So we've got 8 of them on the print. This is a 16-hour print, but in 16 hours we get 8 noses of a Der. So that works really well. So if we go back to open, so these are all the components for the Freelancer Der. So every single print just has one print on them. Now, that's not to say that there's only 10 components, because if we look at something like this one, for all the people that don't have a Freelancer Der, oh, my computer's thinking. Don't think too hard, computer. I can hear my fans ramping up. Don't do it. There we go. These are rafts. So each Freelancer Der model has one of these rafts in it, but each raft has quite a few components on it. So it's got the cockpit, it's got the 2 engine nozzles, it's got the back of the cockpit sort of bulkhead, it's got the rear door, it's got the side airlock, and it's got 6 engine little thrusters. Though it only needs 4, but they're so small and easy to cough and swallow that I put a few. I guess you do some testing. It's the final setup. Yeah. Roughly speaking, every single component we put in our kits has been printed between 15 and 30 times on average, we discover. We have some components are a pain in the tits. So one particularly on the Freelancers, this bit here, we have a lot of issue with resin filling and these on the side. It took, I'm not exaggerating, that we have a box of about 150 Freelancer engines that are all fails because they just couldn't get that last bit of resin to not pool in them. I would love at some point, we are going to ask CIG for all those people who do a lot of dioramas and stuff. Hello, Madness. How are you? It does look good, doesn't it? It's getting there. Fucking get in there. Look at all the little detailing on it and everything. It's looking really pretty. Obviously, these aren't to the same scale, but you know that. It is. It's coming out nicely. Actually, I'm trying to see where find like these side engines. It's I like this resin. This is another interesting thing. In the days where we did the Freelancer, we were using this grey resin, and now we use this modelling resin. And it's it's a lovely finish on the model resin. So we printed them just so many times. What I would love to do, what I would really love to do is be able to sell by the kilo our failed prints. Because we never throw any of them away, because I look at them and go, well, I could do a huge dump as a depot diorama or something. But we now have 3 IKEA cubes, 1 filled with each of the scale of models we do. So we've got 1 full of 1 to 40s. We've got, there's probably 40 Cyclone bodies in there, at least, to get them spot on, because they were a pain. Same with 1 to 100. There's probably 50 or 60 arrow bodies in there, because again we had issues just with tiny little bits on them that would just weren't quite perfect. So there's probably 50 or 60 arrow bodies sitting in there with just tiny flaws on them, but or they've got a print like a so one of the reasons we went from Form 2 printers to Form 3 printers, we run both, but we bought Form 3 printers, was the Form 2 printers have their only weakness is they have this weird-ass sensor for detecting resin level in the tank. And when it's sensing it, it has to wait until the resin has calmed down and completely flattened. So it suspends the print in the air for about 2 minutes while it's doing that, and that gives you a really horrible print line. And usually it's not a problem. On small parts, it doesn't have to check the resin because it's put enough resin into the tank to start with. But on big prints, when we're printing like 11 arrow body, I think 10 or 11 arrow bodies you get on one print, there's so much resin needed for the print, it can't put it all in to start with. So it knows it needs to refill. And you just maybe end up with just 1 or 2 of those print lines. And that's the whole raft done in the bin. It's not acceptable. So one of the advantages of Form 3 is it doesn't have this problem because it uses a float sensor, so it can top up as it goes, and it also uses a blower heater and heats all the air inside it, so you don't get that print line issue. So that was just one of the advantages of going to it. If you had the free time, Sheila, well, you say that, Madness, but we already have the aerials. We're already well ahead on the aerials, so these aren't the final prints for the aerials, but we're way ahead there. Because what a lot of people don't realise is the aerials are actually in game. They are completely modelled, that you just can't animate them, but they are absolutely in the model. It's just like they're totally there. So this print, for example, is an 8 hour 15 print. So going back to like how long do these things take to print one DIR? If we just printed each part on what, just tried to print a single set of dir prints is probably about 40-50 hours, but it averages out when you do it this way, putting each component on, then dividing the time down. It not quite halves it, but nearly does. So I think the arrow comes out at 16.5 hours per arrow worth of parts when you're printing them en masse. The Freelancer's a bit more than that. I think by memory it's like 23 hours or something. The CARRACK, I imagine, will come down to, if I had to guess, the biggest issue with the CARRACK is that you've got two massive prints. You've got the arse of it and the forward section, aft and forward. You can only get 3 of each of these on a print. So you get 3 of these on a print and 3 of the aft section on a print. So that's problematic because that makes them about 20-30 hour prints for just 3. So you think, well, we've got 2 printers that are going to be printed because they'll be printed on the Form 3 for that same line reason. So in a day, they're only going to produce 3 CARRACKs worth of fuselages. Now, the rest of the parts are quite small in comparison. So the CARRACK is one of those ones where probably at least a third of its printing is just in its fuselage. Maybe a third to a half of its printing is in that fuselage. So if I had to guess, I'd say the CARRACK is about averaging out as efficiently as we can go 30 hours of printing, 25 to 30 hours. And this is why we can't put a definite price on it yet, because we haven't worked all this out yet, because we don't until we've got all the final prints. We decide which components to bunch together. So, we'll try and put these in pairs and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, just needs the armor cockpit now. Well, no, so we're cheating it. We are cheating it. So the way we're doing the armored cockpit is this cockpit is a little tight at the moment, but this will just be secured in on magnets. This will be a crystal clear cast print, not print, resin cast. So when the armored cockpit comes out, there'll just be a new cockpit that will just pop in there on magnets and be quite happy. So we're covering our bases. If in doubt, use magnets. So same way we're doing with the side wings and stuff. When we were approaching the CARRACK from a landing gear point of view, the big issue we had was the landing gear is so complicated on the side. Shove the landing gear back into here, because these wings sort of fold out and go out the way and things. So the landing gear, there is basically a set that have its landing gear out and a set that's in flight that has the aerial that we've lost. Oh, there she is. Yeah. Apologies that nothing is glued together on this model yet, but I don't want to glue things together because I'm changing individual parts. So basically you get 2 sets. So you just interchange them on a big magnet, and then there's holes in here for the turrets. So like this one has a turret on, and then the way we're doing the turrets is there's probably going to be 6 turrets of these side turrets. Thank you, Vagabond Prime 23. Thank you for the follow. So we're going to do like 6 turrets. So there'll be a pair in retracted mode, a pair out and facing forward or backwards technically because they're rotationally symmetrical, and then another pair that are like pointing in odd angles, so it looks like it's in the middle of a fight. So again, it's giving you guys options of how to display these things. And we've gone to one of the biggest challenge by far on this CARRACK was doing the garage, to actually model the garage all the way in and having the ramps. So we've got obviously closed door on magnets, and then yeah, I haven't done the final door yet, but I did have an old print of it somewhere. But yeah, we actually have a, oh no, it's lost its little things, but we've got an actual ramp, get it on camera, John, a ramp open model, so that you can have your bedazzling, thank you very much for the follow, so you can have your vehicle coming down it, and yeah, all the good stuff, obviously, different landing gears and things, and yeah, so we're nearly there with it, we are nearly there with it. Most of its component pieces are nailed down now, which is fantastic. And I say it's very much like the arrow, the CARRACK. I don't know if it's an anvil thing. We shall see. The interesting thing will be kind of doing. Oh yeah, sorry. So the anvil ship. I'm half reading chat. Sorry. The anvil ships. Most of this is put together with magnets. The fuselage is glued together front to back. The engines will be glued in. Engines aren't in this at the moment. It's just got holes. Is there anything else? This plate, this cargo bay lid plate will get glued into there. But that's about it. Everything else is on magnets. Oh no, the little interior windows, because all of these are hollow in the back, so there's going to be clear prints that go in behind every window so that it can be lit from the inside. And that's one of the reasons for having this openable, so that you can put the batteries in and stuff like that. So you can lighting kits. We're not supplying with lighting kit, but there is acres of room for lighting kits in this thing. So because of that, all of these windows here will have clear pieces behind. All of these windows here, even the captain's quarter one has a hollow behind it, and obviously that's clear as well. So it'll be fully lightable from that point of view. Someone said in chat, well done on modelling these. So the hilarious thing is that all of this stuff isn't actually modelled in the game yet, because the cargo pods, I'll put this on, we still have to do some fake modelling on that as well. So the cargo pods that sit in here, lost a door. Excuse me. There we go. The cargo pods that fit in here, obviously because in game you can't take them out, there's no geometry in behind it, it's just perfectly blank. So we've actually started putting our own geometry in, just taking it from other bits of the CARRACK to sort of make it look right. But I'm going to have to do the whole of this bit here is going to have to be made up. And talk to JC about that and go, something like this, that'd be good. You could just, match it when you do the model, that'd be brilliant. And then I won't be wrong. Yeah, I remember when Sharon was all about big stage break, it was about sure about little models. I'm a master. I wouldn't say that. I'm trying my best. I would love to get back to the big ones as well, Madness as well, it's got to be said. I am looking forward to making something that has to go in a lorry again. But yeah, no, it's interesting because the process for making the massive models and making these models is exactly the same from a drawing point of view. You're still making a model to then manufacture. Yes, there are ways, you have to model it differently for 3D printing, to carving, to casting, to injection molding, stuff like that. You have to know what you're designing it for as a production method. But the actual how you make the model, how you draw these models, we still have the same, issues with the CIG models in that, they are deliberately broken to work in game, so we have to just draw them from scratch. Basically, we use the model as a template, but we have to hand draw all of this geometry to make it detailed, to make it work. So that's why it takes so long to do. Hopefully you guys following this project along have a bit of an understanding of what actually goes into it. If not weapons, model catch and harvest, that would be cool. So I was thinking about weapons the other day, and so we're in the UK, and we are what's it called, sane. So we don't have guns everywhere because it's a bad idea. Don't care what you say. We have very strict gun laws in this country, and one of the things that does mean is that we realistically can't do replica firearms. I actually used to make replica firearms for theatre industry for World War II reenactments and all that kind of stuff. And where the place I used to work before, we had armourers licenses to be able to make the replicas, literal wood replicas, but you still need a firearms license to do it. And the person you're selling to needs to have a firearms license, lots of paperwork and stuff, even for a dummy gun. So that's about the only thing I ever made. And Star Citizen guns particularly are a real no-go. Star Trek, fine, don't look like a gun. But, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your point of view, Star Citizen guns look too much like modern firearms for you to be able to do. Obviously, some of the alien ones don't, but in general. So it's certainly something we can never do as a product full size. However, one thing I was looking on is the Weta Workshop. If you never come across Weta Workshop, they are the guys behind Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, based out in New Zealand. New Zealand and Australia have very similar firearms laws to us, so they have the same sort of issues from that point of view. But they do a lot of film stuff. They did all the film work on District 9. Now they do these. They'd also do a really amazing props, like to buy. And they do these, which are 1:4 scale, I think. I've forgotten now. I'm sure these are 1:4 scale. Yes, 1:4 scale miniatures. I just got lights right there, just there. Now 1:4 definitely comes under the category of a miniature, and wouldn't be mistaken for a real firearm unless you go around with the grasshopper from Men in Black, and so this would be an option for helmets, guns. People are going to be big, but not inconceivable. But certainly helmets and guns could be done in this 1:4 scale, and it's that is something that can definitely be done. If you're big into Lord of the Rings and that kind of stuff, I seriously suggest you look at these guys. Oh, and if you've got lots of money, because they do make. They have the Master Swordsmith collection, which are these are the props, effectively. They're made by the same people, made in the same forges, made to the exact same designs as the props used in the film by the same armourers. And, they're not cheap, but they are actual Lord of the Rings weaponry and stuff. So you will not find a finer prop than the Weta Workshop props. Has to be said. Definitely something we aspire to. But yeah, I was just interested. I just came across those. I think they're the only ones they do. Just these 2 District 9 ones. But it just got me thinking that we could do kit models of the guns in that scale. So obviously we do them on the 1:40s. And things like that. We could do ship guns in quite weird scales, I suppose, but I don't know what the sort of call for that would be. Noisy cricket, that's the one. But yeah, we could do a lot of set props, absolutely. But again, it's all one of the biggest problems with Star Citizen is what makes it so good is that there's so many things we could make. And it's the same problem with ships, is that there are so many ships. Everyone has, their favourites, and it's that whole thing of we could keep doing ships seemingly forever, and not cover all the ships. This is why I love this scale. The 1:500 is our only opportunity, realistically, to do every single ship in the game. Because at least in this scale, we can cover a huge raft of, these ships. Shopik, for flight. Oh, yeah. I'd love to do one. As a genuine rough, full Simpets, I would love to do it. I really want to do like a freelancers one or something like that. To do a fighter, something like a Gladius, full scale, fully accurate, fully built, a cockpit that someone could get into, 30 grand, easy, cost wise for us to do it. Sounds insane, but it's you got to think about it as time. It's how many man hours, man days, man weeks, man months go into. Sounds cheap. Good for you. I shall send you the invoice. But that's the sort of things that that we do build. For events and stuff. Usually for companies. And it's like. I know that they do spend an absolute ton, but I mean, it's like that's not for the equipment that's going. That's not for the PCs and the script. That's just for the furniture, effectively. It's like, and fantastic. People are willing to spend that money. Then they know where we are. Hopefully, and it's it can definitely be done, but. It's the other obvious issue is that and. If someone wants a sim pit built, that's how much it is to build it. Then they've got to ship it to you. That might involve a lorry. If you're in Europe, it's fine. I'll just drive it and fit it. Because that's the other thing. It's like, you build something that sort of size, it's not like, it's not a IKEA flat pack furniture. It doesn't come with instructions. We'd need to be there to put it together at the other end, so it all fits together and it all is wired up properly and all works and signed off. So it helps if it's somewhere we can drive to. And do. But no, I mean, I always worry. We've done some desks for people, and I always feel guilty. I shouldn't, but I do feel guilty charging the sort of money that you need to charge for these one-off projects to people. I don't care charging companies money, because companies have marketing budgets in the millions. Not CIG, but I suppose when you think of how CitizenCon plus everything else, but and when they get to doing Squadron, it will be millions. When a company is putting money into marketing a product that they are pushing out, the budgets are huge. I have no issue at all having a slice of that budget. But when I'm taking money out of people's pockets, it's the reason we stopped doing the crates. So if anyone, there may be people that don't even know the crates exist. Let me just jump to that while I find a picture of the crates. The first product we did, which before we did kit models, our first licensed products were small bits of furniture. So if you cast your mind back to CitizenCon in 2017, Chris Roberts came out on stage looking at this box. This is a box we built in 3 days because someone asked us, "Oh, it'd be really cool if Chris could bring something out." It's like, yeah, I've got 3 days before I'm leaving in a lorry. And it's like, got 3 days then. Oh, good. So that was. We put it this way: I didn't have time to order metallic paint that went in our guns, so we had to use car paint, and we wrapped it wet. And when we got to the other end, we had to unwrap it out the bubble wrap and let it dry because the paint was still wet. When we got to Germany, it was that much of an event job. I love it. Yeah, it's hilarious. But we then, in the cold light of day, did this boy. So this was the first one we did, which was a GHG crate. So the thing on the top is an actual touchscreen that you put your code in. The artwork on it is actually the in-game artwork that existed at the time. So these are the personnel. We do have these in games that you can put minables in it. And the lights on the front were all RGB and everything, and that all worked. And this was a fridge. So when you tapped in the right code, it opened, and it's on a mechanical lock, and it opened, and you had your little mini fridge. Grey Headed Gamer still has it by the side of his desk and uses this on every stream. It's still running absolutely fine, and can lock it with the code on the top and everything, and it's super awesome. So we did a fridge crate, we did a cargo crate, and I think the only one I have a photograph of anyway, is a Big Benny's one we did. Yeah, so this was a Big Benny's cargo crate. And And again, this was code lock on the top, and the top lid opened. We also did a PC crate one with a PC built into it as an actual. I don't think I've got a picture of it. We did a test squadron one for one of our fantastic supporters. Also bought every single model off us as well. The big issue with these things is that we were charging 500 and something pounds for them and making a loss. And that's the problem. The amount of man hours that goes into these to, create from scratch. I'll tell you what a clever place to have gone would have been a website. That would have been a really, really good idea, wouldn't it? So if we go to a website, goodness knows whose website this would be. Yes, the wallet was indeed ours. So this was the first project I ever did. This was genuinely a fan project as well. That we literally took from drawings and cut on an old machine. Did a lot of digging around. This is where I used to work. Did a lot of painting and all this sort of stuff, and created that for. I originally did it for BritainCon as a fan event, and then it lived in the CIG workshop for office for ages, and that was it at BritainCon, and then we did take it to Gamescom later on. Past project. Oh, that's what I wanted. SC crates, because I think there is a picture in this reel. These are just renders. Yes, so this is the problem. There are a lot of pieces. It's a lot of milling. It's an awful lot of bits that actually go into making these things, and because they're quite small, they just take loads of man hours to get right, to get looking really, really good. To get it from wood to looking like that takes an awful lot of time. That was a PC crate one that we did. So it was open at the front because it had fans in it and stuff. That was GHG's. That's a Test Squadron. That's a PC case. So that's a grill on the front with the Test Squadron logo over the top, and it's a PC case on the back. And that was another PC case for in-game org. So we did a few of them. Too bad you can't use those lockers anymore. You can't at the moment, but you will. They will come back, because once we have personal inventory, we're going to have to go and get our spacesuits out of something when we go to space stations. So I think they're going to come back, because that's what they're for. They are spacesuit dispensers. One thing I do love about that GSS unit is the number of events it's been to. So when we did CitizenCon, the last CitizenCon, it got an update, and it was quite fun because we did it so we stripped it all back, so we completely repainted it. I don't think a lot of people realize it. So on the left there, we literally buffed it back to nothing. Undercoated it in metal paint, in metallics, and then overpainted it again, and then wore it back so it looked all worn, and then graffitied it, and did all the graffiti so it looked like it had been in Levski. Brain addled. So it was built to look like it was in Levski, and this video, I want it muted. This is a terrible video, but James, I don't know if James is still around, he redid the screen. So the screen was just a static picture, but he actually did it so it actually glitches, and the lights, you can't really tell. Yeah, I just got back. We're just talking about your excellent work, my friend. Making the glitching screens, and it flashes the LEDs, and the LEDs go like a weird color occasionally, as if it's had the shit kicked out of it for years. And this is currently sitting in a room over there, and I've got like cables and paint in it. It's just sort of doesn't have anywhere to live at the moment. I'm hoping one day it'll go back to CIG, maybe. Those crates are more suitable for made in fiber reinforced resin casting. Potentially, it's just not something I've ever done. Again, it's unless you can make it, unless you could build one and paint it and something in half a day. Realistically, by the time you've got all the materials, all the design work, it's still going to be 500 quid. And and that's a big issue with these things. Tables were cool at the Gamescom booth. Yeah, packet. Oh, those Gamescom. The Gamescom ones were interesting. So that was the first job we did for CIG. They should be in here somewhere. There were 10 of these. There were 10 gamers ones, and so this was. You have to put your cast your mind back to pre 3.0 sort of timescales. So this was before 3.0 was launched. We didn't have planets, so this was all the furniture from the outpost that no one had seen at that point. So this was all done from the outpost assets that were new to the game at that point. But the interesting one, they had to fit their PCs, and they at the time used these really rugged Corsair cases, and they were not ideally suited to fitting any bloody things, because the biggest worry was overheating, because we're effectively putting a PC that was already we're putting a rig that was already in a fairly rugged case inside a wooden box, and then getting it to run 3.0 and not explode. It was quite funny. But yeah, we did it all in Riari colours. That desk is cool. This was my favourite bit of that job, was this desk. That desk was the streamer's desk that was at the back of the event. So yeah, it ran along the back underneath the screen there, all as one big desk, and there was Maya. Gosh, you have to help me here. Who was on the desk? There was Jared was at one end. A lot of the time there was Jared and Tyler. There was Maya and DJ Knight, and there was someone else. Who else was on it? Maya, DJ Knight, and someone else. So there was four of them most of the time, and then there was another, basically a seat between Maya and Gamble. Yes, it was Gamble. So that there was Gamble, DJ Knight, Maya, and then there was a spare seat for who was being interviewed by Disco, and then Disco. Now, it also needed to have all of the monitors, all of the sound desks, all of the everything, and because there was different numbers of people all the time, it couldn't have any legs on this front half of it. And this desk is about 4 meters long or something, 4.5 meters long, and have no supports at the front, but be able to cope with people leaning on it, standing on it, and all that kind of stuff. So there is actually, it was built in two halves. Might be a picture of it in two halves, but there's a scaffolding pole that runs just underneath this lip. You can't see it, but there's a big steel pole, scaff pole that runs underneath and goes into these both sides. So the whole weight of it is actually taken by the scaffolding pole, so that we didn't have to worry about overloading the desk. And yeah, that worked actually really nicely. And then after the show, where is that desk now? That desk was also built to be used as two separate desks. So it splits in the middle, and then it had two extra legs that sort of made it into two smaller desks. And Aaron Roberts has one of them, and Carl Jones has the other at the Winslow office. So that's where they ended up. Make a full art cop city. In what scale? And Microtech or Orison. The possibilities are endless. I did work out at one point how big Port Olisar would be in 1 to 500, and it wouldn't fit in my house. So it's ridiculous. I've not seen Horizon yet. I'm going to wait for its live. I have so little time to play Star Citizen. I wish I had more time. I've actually played more in the last few months with Westbrook Drew. He's got me into mining, which is amazingly fun. But I just, other than that, I really don't have time to play it too much. What other memory lane things we'll look at before we go away? Oh, that's something some of you might not have seen. Stormbreaker. So Brian Chambers, or Thor as he's otherwise known, went to see the first Avengers film and came out of the cinema and tweeted, I'm going to get myself a battle axe. So we replied, hold my drink. And then without him knowing, we built him a Stormbreaker. And this was, because we like Brian, but also this was the first thing I did on my CNC machine. So I just bought my new CNC machine, and this was the first project I did on it as a bit of a test to run it in and get used to it. So we drew a Stormbreaker and carved it and glued it and did a full paint job on it, and we made a crate for it. So I like my crate. You want to buy a CNC machine? CNC machines are amazing. They come with some disadvantages. They are noisy as hell. Mine's 7 kilowatt, so it uses all the electricity in the world and is 3-phase. But yeah, so we did. We did this lovely crate for it with the Shield logo and stuff, and classified and all the rest of it. 7 kilowatts is a water cooled 3-phase 415 volt. It's a bit of you need a lot of power to churn through wood. It's So we did all this, and then Cal nailed this shut with a gleeful smile on her face. We've actually got a video of her like ring shank nailing with an air gun this thing shut, and then we sent it to Germany. Now the thing was that Brian had no idea this was coming. Ulf did. We were in contact with Ulf, so we had someone on the inside, and Cal set up a Amazon account in Germany the week before it was arriving, and ordered Brian a small crowbar as a gift from this anonymous Amazon account, sent to him with a note saying, "You will need this in days to come." And he thought someone was trying to kill him, I think, and in the end it arrived, and he got to use his crowbar, and he had no idea what was in this. And they sent us a video of him opening it. We're not allowed to show the video because it's very much behind the scenes and him swearing his ass off. So lots of non-airable things were said. But you sort of saw the look at his face when he kind of realised what it was. And yeah, he still has it in his office. But it was just one of those fun little projects. I wanted something to burn the machine in with. Brian was really annoyed that he never got the Raven, because obviously he thought he'd get the Raven, but it was too big to fit in his office, so he didn't get it. I think that's probably all the memory lane type stuff. For all those that never noticed, we did build the stage desk for CitizenCon, modelled after one of the desks in game. It's a bit of a random one. It was one of those ones that wasn't a huge pinnacle point of the stage, but it solved a lot of problems technically because it had all these monitors built into it under glass, so that we didn't have the same issue that Glenn had. You know when Glenn missed the jump at CitizenCon 2018? He missed the jump because he couldn't see his screen. The way they had set the screens up and the stage lights, he literally could barely see the screen. So we designed this desk entirely so he wouldn't miss another jump, basically. So that the screens were actually put in it properly and the stage lights didn't reflect off them. And they were ludicrously powerful screens and everything. And all the PCs and stuff were all hidden. There were like 4 or 5 computers in this desk, plus all the screens and everything. So that was more of a technical challenge than a good-looking challenge, but it still ended up looking quite pretty. The Hunter, the only Vandal ship that we've actually seen, that's sitting in a desk at. How is COVID affecting your work at this time? Hardware materials. I mean, I would a pain, but I'm not really using it. I'm not really using any of it. I mean, COVID's affected us in that we're an events company and there's been no events. So that's why we've done so much of the models. We were really lucky, hand on heart, that we had the models oh yes, we'll get back to that, Drew. That we had the models to fall back on, and they already existed, and we already had, already had licenses in the pipeline. Because I mean, if we'd started, from us having the first conversations about doing licensed products to us putting them on sale was 2 years. So if we'd had to have started afresh with the legal team and CIG at the start of COVID, we would still be months away from being able to do anything. So we'd have been in real trouble. So the fact that we already had all that in place was a lifesaver. It's not, we're just about broken even with them. But it's kept food on the table. Do you know what I mean? It's not as profitable as doing events, but it's better than sitting on your ass doing nothing. I'd be doing delivery driving if it wasn't for the models. So very, very appreciative of them for that. Hopefully we will get back to it all. Hopefully the events will come back, and I'd love to do Gamescom next year. Other than that, COVID didn't really affect our day-to-day because we work for ourselves and from home. So I think Cows was a bit annoyed because everyone else got to be furloughed and we didn't, because there was no excuse. It just meant we couldn't get anyone in to help, so we had to do absolutely everything. So there was no rest. No rest. So that this Hunter was a awesome model. So this is in CIG's reception at Wimslow. I'll just quickly go on to the Wimslow build. So this is where the Raven ended up. So the idea was to have this desk, which appears in New Deal in game and has ship models in it, and so we built a replica of said desk and some ships to go in it. So these were the sort of second things that we'd 3D printed. The Raven also got a little bit of a repaint to spruce it up and fix a few of the things that we didn't have time. Again, the Raven was a bit like the Kraken, in that we were commissioned to do the Raven. We designed it, cut it, built it, sanded it, painted it, and delivered it in 24 days. 27 days or something. It was a ludicrously fast timescale. So there were some bits of it that weren't exactly how we would have liked it. So things like the guns. The guns were awful on the original Raven because we didn't have 3D printers back then. So we actually replaced the guns with 3D printed ones. But we gave her a full buff down and a repaint, and we also had to convert her for hanging, so we had to put all the hanging gear coming through. I mean, the steel frame had always been in her because we always knew that she was going to fly at the office, so that was all still in there. So that was fine. But the CIG don't own the building; they rent it. And it's unfortunate because they wouldn't let us put bolt eyes into the concrete ceiling, which would have been really handy. So we had to build this almighty truss system that 2 of the legs sit on the balcony and 2 sit on the floor below, which was a real pain. So yeah, 2 sit here and then 2 sit on the floor for us to be able to hang the Raven underneath it, and then haul it up. So these side rails, these are actually models from the Idris's lifts from inside the Idris, just so we kept sort of Aegis assets all the way through it. My friend Matt's looking really unimpressed. So these were the 3D printed guns that we replaced the hideous carved ones, and then flying proud above the reception. But then we had all the desk and the 3D printed models. So this is the reception desk at CIG. So there was this little sign in it that said soon TM, because we didn't have the Hunter by this point because the model wasn't done. So we had to wait for the Hunter. So there's an Idris and a Javelin. These are 1 to 750 models, in case anyone's interested. It's not a scale that we would do again. Again, it's too small to do little ships. So it works better in 1 to 500. And it's interesting because we obviously did the Kraken in 1 to 72 and these are 1 to 750 and discovered that neither of those were good scales. So at least we got to get that out of our system before we did our models and work out which ones didn't work. So that was quite handy. But yeah, so we did that, and then the Hunter followed. So the Hunter was Westbrook Drew did a lot of the modeling for this. And this, it needed a lot of work to put it together because it's a big model, and we've come a long way from this, haven't we, Drew? We've come a long way. I didn't really do any of the modeling for this because I was doing all the work for the desk and the trusses and the Raven and stuff. So Engineer and Westbrook Drew did all the modeling for these. And did a fantastic job. Crispy did a wonderful job at putting them all together. We do it so differently now. Oh my god, we've learned so much. Arduously put this whole thing together. Miz painted it beautifully. We then put it in polystyrene beads and everything, and that took about 8 days to get it out. And yeah, she now sits very pretty at Winslow reception. She's a lovely little model, actually. I'd like to do her again. It's about halfway between the size of an Idris and a Javelin, as a size guide for how big the Hunter is. Going to be an awesome ship when it's in game. Yeah. Oh god, the Dragonfly. I can't wait to see this thing again. I miss it. Misha, who did a lot of the painting of it, has never seen it put together. We never put it together when it was painted. We put it together unpainted. You can see it here. It was sitting in one of the shops, completely built unpainted. But it never got put back together after it was painted. There was no time. It was literally things were painted, wrapped to protect them, and put and packed. So, and everything with wood on this thing. It was insane. Oh my god, those guns. There's Misha, not happy with me. So much painting. But yeah, no, everything was painted, wrapped, packed and sent, and just got put in the truck. So it never Misha never saw it in one piece. That's us lifting it. That was one of the most stressful times of my life. Yeah. Events. Can't wait to do events. Right, it is. It's past 10 o'clock here. I've only gone 2 hours over what I intended to do. So we're all good. Thank you all so much for dropping in and asking questions. It is genuinely the nicest way to do any of this stuff is just to get to answer people's questions and queries, because I don't have to think about what to say, which is cool. I'm glad everyone likes our progress on the old CARRACK. She is definitely getting there now. She's not a million miles away off, and as I say, fingers crossed. 2 to 3 weeks for the little dioramas. That is definitely, these guys will be, these are out of our hands now. These are in the hands of sign-off people and printers and things. So that is amazing. So they will be winging your guys' ways very, very soon, in the next couple of weeks. And then the CARRACK hopefully is less than a month after that, is the hope. She's not far off. These parts should be on their way to JC end of next week, middle of the week after, something like that would be... can those be bought in bundle packs? Not really thought about that. We shall have a think about that, Death Ghost. Do we want to do a bundle pack? We shall see. we shall have a think. We shall think on this. But yeah, so these 7 are all going to drop at once. But yeah, so that's cool. So keep an eye out for that. Follow us on Twitter. Join the Discord. Someone put Discord in chat for me, please. If you're not a member of our Discord, want to keep up with everything that we do, it's the best place to come look. Thank you very much. And when you see our stuff on Twitter, please retweet it. Please push it around the web, because the more people that know about us, the more people will get involved, and the more information we have, the more customers we have, and this hopefully should be a really exciting year. We've got some hopeful, fingers crossed, surprises coming for you that were surprises to us as well. Things that we didn't think we'd be allowed to do, and we might be allowed to do them. So won't say any more than that, just so I don't jinx it. But yeah, I guess. Oh no, there's no Twitter. Yeah. We're JR Desfab on everything. So that's really easy to find us. Cal's managed to get us to be JR Desfab on everything. YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and something else. So thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Lovely to see you all. Thank you for all the questions. I may be around tomorrow night for a sneaky Sea of Thieves coin drawing, more to get our Twitch affiliate thing over the line than anything else. But if not, I shall see you on Sunday. Have a great week. I shall see you then. We should probably raid someone. Who can we raid? I don't have anyone in my list. Who's on? Let's have a quick look. See who I follow that is currently on. Oh, not many people. Everyone must be watching the football. Oh, we'll do Detox. Let's go see Detox. Perfect. Detox has done some amazing unboxings and stuff for us. I'll be talking about the unboxings. There's been a couple of amazing unboxings videos. We have an offer regarding unboxing videos, which I'll talk about on Sunday. And say hi to Detox for us. He knows who we are. See you guys. Thank you very much.